based on their perspective. And I've been tweeting it all day saying, every time someone tells me, but they've been suffering for 75 years, I'm not even going to the lie that's involved in here. I'm Jewish. We went through the freaking Holocaust. And I'm still not a plague on everyone's mind, and I'm not a danger to Germans on a regular basis. There is no justification ever to behave like animals. And honestly, I'm insulting animals at this point. Nothing justifies this. Nothing justifies what the Nazis did, and nothing would justify someone doing to the Germans what the Nazis did. That's not how this works. Either you're human or you're not. And in this case, the way that we fight this, and I have to say, I agree with what GP said. I think the fact that Christian leaders around the world, Bree sent me a link that the Pope was also calling for a day of fasting yesterday. I think it's BS. I think the people who are calling for peace are actually supporting war, and they're supporting terror. And I think two-siding this is abhorrent. But the point is that we have to start using these words again. We have to start speaking in terms of good and evil. And we have to say this is evil. It's an evil, the kind of which we must exterminate. And that is the battle that we're fighting right now. And I'm seeing Hamas doing two battles at the moment, not in the field, in public opinion. One is to deny that it ever happens because they have a problem and people don't like that it ever happened. And the other is to say that it is now justified because Israel is doing horrible things to the people of Gaza. Now, Israel is not doing horrible things to the people of Gaza. Hamas is doing horrible things to the people of Gaza because Hamas is hiding behind them. And as long as we don't have this pillar, this measuring yard through by which or with which we can distinguish between right and wrong, we cannot fight the wrongs. So this is absolutely 100% about ideology, not in the sense that I'm going to present my Bible to anyone and say, oh, look, I'm a good person. I'm not apologizing anymore for anything. Let me put it this way. Because there's an ongoing internal battle, and it's a battle in Israel, I've been very particular about being beyond cordial on Twitter for the better part of 10 months. Like, I have a very old Twitter account, but I only started tweeting like January of this year. But I made a point of being respectful and of having conversations and of opening myself to others because it was important to me that the conversation be that. I'm not doing that anymore, especially not when I'm discussing this topic in English. I am vehemently opposed to anyone that would even suggest that there's a conversation to be had or that there's something to understand. There's nothing to understand. Nothing will explain this. I've been using words my father has forbidden since I was 16 years old, and I'm writing it out for him to see. And at some point he's going to get on Twitter and I'm never going to hear the end of it. But we have to take a side, and we have to expect other people to take sides.
Couple pieces of breaking news. There's been a rocket impact in Rehovot. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then there's also...
the house was hit directly.
I will help you. It was one in Rehovot and one in Yafo.
Say that again?
Do we have...
There is a direct hit in Rehovot and another hit in Yafo.
Okay, so two hits. What did you say,
Do you know where in Rehovot?
No, we're not talking about it online. Where? We said only city.
No, if you could please DM me if you know where. I have family that I'm trying to contact right now, so I would appreciate it. And if you could,
guys,
I didn't see this.
Fake news. This might be fake news. I apologize. Israel was attacked with unprecedented cruelty. It has the right to defend itself. Would anyone like to guess who just said that? Or who supposedly just said that?
Trump?
Say again?
Did Trump say that?
No, go on. Who do you think is supposedly meant to have said that? And I've just seen it, and I'm looking at it and think, nah. But go on, a couple other guesses.
Either Egypt or Abu Mazen.
Okay,
nope.
AOC.
Abu Mazen, are you serious?
AOC?
Okay.
AOC did not say that.
Would you believe Putin?
What?
I'm
Prove
serious.
it.
It's the
I
actual
just,
Putin
It
or
I,
fake
D,
sounds
I
Putin?
fake
DM'd,
news, but I'm
I
seeing it.
DM'd you Vladimir Putin, and I would say a cent on a dollar on a dime that might not be the case, but never
Okay,
know.
it's on the wires.
All right, let's go now to Road. You were going to say something real quick.
Yeah. So regarding Putin, I think I know what happened, but I'm not going to get into speculations. And regarding what has been said before, religious, not religious, guys, we don't care. We've been attacked in the most brutal possible way,
Correct.
and we're going to retaliate for two reasons. One, for revenge. And revenge is the beginning of justice. Revenge is not unjustified. Revenge is the beginning of justice. When people began to revenge, the sense of justice was born. The idea of a state is that instead of anyone avenging themselves, the state avenge for you. So when someone stole from you or killed your beloved one, you don't have to revenge. The state will use its tools, the courts, the police, the prison, etc., to revenge for you. But there's no state above states. So states do still have to avenge. There's no other way. Because if you don't avenge, then the evildoers will have no reason not to do evil. It's that simple. If the Nazis had been eliminated, not defeated, eliminated after the Holocaust, this would not have happened. But we will make sure that the world will know for 1,000 generations that if you do this to the Jews, this is what happens to you. So that nobody will try that again. And I don't care if they did it for religious reasons or because they are jealous of my Lego. It doesn't matter. And I don't even have Lego anymore. And so this is, so first, revenge is justified, and revenge is not a bad word. America did the same thing to Japan after the attack of Pearl Harbor, and America did the same after the attack of 9/11. America killed hundreds of thousands of people in Afghanistan and Iraq as revenge, justifiable revenge. And compared to what happened in America, our tragedy is more than 12 times bigger compared to population. So revenge is the one thing. The other thing is Israel cannot ever allow Nazistan to reside at its border. For those who you all do not know Israel's geography, Gaza is a walk away from our settlements, from our kibbutzes that were attacked. A walk away. So when they broke the fence, they destroyed the fence, some people from Gaza, not just Hamas, some ordinary people from Gaza, in their flip-flops, came with trains to loot, to kidnap, and to rape.
Correct.
So that happened. So we cannot allow so all the people of Gaza as Nazis, not just the Hamas. The Hamas said themselves, some of it was not our doing. Ordinary people did it. You're right, exactly. Which is why there are no innocent civilians in Gaza. Not such because if there were innocent civilians, they will rise against it. Beforehand, telling don't do such things, and afterhand, what have you done? And even though they're suffering in response, they're still not saying, even in self-defense, they're not saying, hey, what have we done? It just harmed us. So even though it caused them some pain of themselves, they're still standing behind it because they're pure evil. This is Nazistan. And Israel cannot allow Nazistan to reside at its border. And it will end. There will be no Nazistan. And no amount of demilitarization is helpful because they can create their own weapons. So even if you read the Gaza, as if it was possible, from every weapon, every single one, no, not a single gun, not a single bullet, not a single missile, in several years, there will be new ones. And we cannot go house to house every day on 1 million people. That will not happen. So Natistan will be evacuated. We will not kill all of them. We are Jews. We're incapable of that. We will kill everyone with connection to Hamas. I say about at least 10,000 people will be killed or captured. I hope killed, because if 1,500 people came to murder, everybody that ever served in the army knows that there are at least 10 times people behind them. So they will be killed. And Gaza will be evacuated. I don't care where. They can go to Egypt, they can go to Germany, and they can start swimming. I don't care. But I don't care why they did it. If you have a neighbor that has a habit of raping your children and murdering them, you will not allow them to live there, ever.
So, just real quick, I do have an actual update. I know IJ had earlier said Putin had said something on behalf of Israel. Actually, it's looking like, unfortunately, that probably was not correct information, as IJ had said it might be fake news. You were correct there. Putin compared the Israeli siege of the Gaza Strip to the Nazi siege of Leningrad, saying it's unacceptable, which is absolutely fucking hilarious, coming from Putin, who's oh my god, as if so he speaks for Israel more than Israel does itself. That makes a lot of sense now.
Well, I think it
And
also
then
has to do with
the
because
other thing
Zelensky.
that I saw here was that Israeli forces are once again shelling southern Lebanon, following the reports of an explosion along the border fence. Some of that shelling has hit the Lebanese army observation in Daharia in South Lebanon, which is an interesting additional development on top of the uh, conflict we're seeing arise near the north border of Israel, as hundreds of Jordanians are trying to come across the border up there as part of this day of rage. The Jordanians are trying to hold them back, and at the same time, we've also got reports of Hezbollah now obviously breaking into that border wall up there in northern Israel.
So Prime Minister Netanyahu is currently, I think, in regards to that situation, upcoming situation in the north, is conducting in the Kiryat discussions with the Minister of Defense, the Benny Gantz, one of the ministers from the emergency government, and all of the security agencies to see what they're going to do regarding the whole situation.
Hey, Chet. I just wanted to say something really quickly. I see
Go for it.
one of my sisters here, Coda Vets. She and her husband are actually currently in Taiwan, and so I just wanted to let you know to hang tight because I'm trying to get you a mic. Thank you.
I just brought her up right now. Hello there. What did you say her name was? Just Coda Vets? I'll refer to you as Coda Vets. How's it going, Coda Vets?
Hi. Yeah, just jumping on from Taiwan. Thank you, Monica, for having my back. We're my husband and I, both United States Air Force veterans, watching all of this unfold with Israel from Taiwan. We are expats here for 2 years, and I just want to give you a perspective from around the globe. I've been speaking to numerous Taiwanese local citizens. I am the president of the IWAT, which is the International Women's Association of Taichung. My husband is a supply chain expert here. That's why we're here for 2 years with a huge global company. We've been monitoring the situation, and I just want to give my perspective from our perspective around the globe. So we've been chatting with local Taiwanese. And we were not aware of this. So we are aware that there are American hostages, but there are also Taiwanese hostages. That there were several Taiwanese tourists in groups that went to Israel during this attack, and the Taiwanese government acted immediately and started bringing their Taiwanese citizens home. But what we have learned from the news, watching what's going on from here, again from Asia, Three of the groups were brought home. One is in a very high hostile situation, and they're not able to be brought back to Taiwan. They are scared. They do not know if they're going to survive. And the Taiwanese government is frantically trying to save their citizens. They believe in, they have a huge, very strong sense of community. And here in Taiwan, what I've learned as an American is the Taiwanese believe in community. They protect each other. And right now they are scared. They believe they could lose multiple Taiwanese citizens to this Hamas attack. Joe and I are American citizens, Air Force veterans, stationed here as expats, and we love the Taiwanese people. We love the We love our own. We love Americans. It's a desperate situation. It's minute to minute. The Taiwanese news from 24 hours a day. It's about their citizens, protecting them, bringing them home alive. And right now, they have some at risk of not making it back because of the bombs, the missiles that Hamas is sending into Israel. This is a very fluid situation, and just from our perspective, from across the globe, we're floored. We don't even know if our American hostages are still alive at this point. Hamas is evil; they're monsters. I don't even know what to say. We are we're just monitoring this from a different perspective, and it's scary. What is happening is unprecedented. We have never seen a terrorist attack since 9/11, on this scale. So it's just it's just really unbelievable to be watching this from Asia right now.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you very much, Gretchen. Let me go now to James. Welcome back to the stage, and then we'll go to Ophir.
Yeah, thank you, Gretchen. James Bradley, good friend. We just finished doing some extractions out of Afghanistan. Let's talk offline regarding those Taiwanese citizens, and I'll put you together with the former special forces to help you out. So talk to me offline, dear.
Yes, will do. Thanks, James. It's yeah. Everybody is traumatized over here. No, I have to speak for the Taiwanese people when I say they truly are a community, and they are all incredibly focused on saving their citizens and fellow Taiwanese. And I'm just so impressed by that, because I feel like Americans can truly learn, because I know we are so divided as a nation with Republicans and Democrats, but right now we should be focused on we are Americans. And if there are any Americans left alive in in the Gaza Strip who were taken hostage, even if it's only 9 people, those lives matter. They have families, they have children, they have moms and dads, and I'm very emotional right now. But I have never, I've never been around a people who are so in tune with each other. These Taiwanese citizens are mourning for those who are stuck in Israel right now. And that's how we should be as Americans, not as Republicans or Democrats, but we should be fighting for the Americans who may have breath left in their bodies, regardless if they've been raped, brutalized, tortured. If they are alive, we need to bring them home.
And we'll do just that. So just know I'm on point here. We'll coordinate the rescue effort. So I feel your pain, dear.
Thank you. I think we were going to Steph next. Is that right?
We're going to go to yes, because actually he's has hand up a little longer
Okay.
here. We'll go to
Yeah.
Stefan Ophir. Yeah, you're right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Monica and Chet. And this is the first time you hear me out. And thank you for inviting me. I will be brief and concise, as I would like to be. Full support to Israel and what they are actually enduring.
Just real quick, I wanted to come in with some breaking news. The IDF has named another 7 soldiers killed during the fighting with the Palestinian terrorists since October 7th, mostly on the border with the Gaza Strip. This now the names now bring the toll of slain IDF soldiers to 264. May their memory be a blessing.
Amen.
Can I carry on, or is
yes,
the?
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay, sure. I want just to be brief. It's the first time I hear you, Code of Vet, and very happy to follow you. As you know, I'm an ex-Air Force fighter, French fighter pilot, veteran, and I follow all you. And you got such an amazing organization. Please, full respect. That said. What's going on here very worries me, because it's not only part of the West between the war between war and East. I think it's more global, and we are facing a clash of civilization. I don't know if you guys read this book from Samuel Huntington, The Clash of Civilization. It's all written in this book, and I heard some people from India talking about ideology. And I think it's more about religion, which is part of ideology, of course. And we are facing the major threat we haven't been facing for the last 20 years. I'm French. We've been facing all terrorist attacks since 1995. This morning, a teacher, I don't know if you guys heard about it, but a teacher had been stabbed by a Chechen in a high school. Another one, 3 years ago, another Chechen killed one of my friend, teacher. They decapitated in the street. The government did nothing about it. We are submerged by more than 20 million Muslims in France, which is a big population right now. And we've got a problem with our government, which cannot take a clear position regarding Israel. And because this guy, Macron, doesn't want to wake up this massive ogre which is invading us since the past 40 years. That's a big problem, I heard, because it was a TV statement yesterday in the French TV. I read it, and it was completely despicable. I am very emotional right now. I'm sorry about it. I'm sorry if you guys are listening to this creepy voice right now, but the Western civilization must be united. We, the people, must be 100% behind Israel. That's all I wanted to say, and I pray for all the losses and all the people who lost their lives since last week. Sorry if I got too emotional. I will maybe take a step back, and I will come back later on this afternoon. Thank you very much, Monica. I love what you do. It's the second time we speak together. And thank you for letting me speak. And you guys have a pleasant journey. Bye.
Thank you so much, Steph.
So much.
And now let's go to Ophir.
Wait a second.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Ruth.
How are you doing?
I wanted to ask the French ex-pilot. Are you still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, no, he left. Okay, go ahead, Ophir.
No, he's still here.
He said he's here.
I wanted to ask you.
I'm here right now. I'm listening.
Okay, so we've heard. Okay, so the question is this: America is sending air carriers to the region, Britain has already put its navy on alert and stop a drill and is considering sending their own air carrier to the area as well to form a coalition. In your opinion?
My opinion, I think France should send troops, supports, not a carrier because we only got one, not as many as the US have. I'm very jealous about it, to be honest. But to be more precise, France, yesterday Macron didn't take any action, you know. The only action he did take was to lead up the Eiffel Tower as a support. That's it. Yesterday was no engagement, commitment towards the Israeli people, saying we should send support, troops, planes to evacuate the civilians and help, I mean military help and or any other help, you know, or NGOs or anything. He did nothing but to stay quiet. And for me, as a French ex-military, I find it very, very disturbing because there's no in between. You either or. I'm not talking about the Manichaeism, the classic Manichaeism, the evil versus the good, the bad, the good. There's no need to make these statements. Should we, you know, either go for the good or the bad? There's no. When you see what all the atrocities just been happening, you know, the last week, there's no need to talk or think or maybe make a think tank about this. You know, we should just go and help. And what I'm very angry about, you know, my president, he's not my president, by the way, the fact that he didn't make the direct line and saying we should aim, we should help, we should be supportive. All I say is just a coward president. We're just afraid of waking up the Muslim community who actually was protesting in the streets yesterday night in Paris, despite the fact that this protest was illegal. The government bent over once again in front of these people, this evil, barbaric, Hamas supportive that the world should obliterate once and for all. And that's it. I'm not talking about the Palestinian people, which are actually maybe suffering. But that said, be aware of the fact that 51% of Palestinian people are behind Hamas. And it was a poll from 2021 that a friend of mine just sent me. And maybe it's old post, but maybe the percentage, the rate increased since then. So Israel sent a warning to the Gaza population: please leave. We're gonna get the hell over your head. There are 2 million people, if I'm not mistaken, in Gaza. Only 200,000 people just left. So, I mean, in the end, there's no war, clean war, if we can name it that way, but people got the warning. So either you're supportive, you're supporting Hamas and you stay, and you accept the consequences, either you go and you get somewhere else. That's why they opened the border for the people to leave the Gaza Strip. That's my point of view. Maybe it's a bit incorrect, but I feel that some European community countries should be more supportive towards Israel. And I will finish it off right now. The problem also European Union, the EU, are sponsoring the Hamas through ads and support, money, and it's been for years. So this also must be prosecuted and end once and for all. That's it. Thank you very much.
And these fucking hypocrites in the EU turned up in Israel today. I mean, Jesus, talk about double standards.
Can I speak?
Sorry,
Yes,
GP, I
Ophir.
missed that. What
Hold
did
on.
they do in the EU?
Hold on a second. Let's let Ophir go. He's had his hand up for a while. Thank you.
Okay, guys. First of all, I put up a link.
Ophir, you might have got double muted there. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your support again. Just put a link up, from Yosef Haddad. He put up a link from the interrogation of one of the terrorists. This video is translated, so you can see exactly what those terrorists are being sent to do, to kill women and elderly and babies and rape women. And in the end, he tell them, we got ordered to kill them. So you can see the link I just put up there from Yusuf Haddad. For old Parra, I don't know, the French pilot, I want to tell you, talk about Huntington. I read the book, and I can tell you Huntington was wrong. There's no clash between civilizations. There's a clash between civilization to barbarians. Okay? There's a clash between civilization to barbarian. Those people are barbarian. Okay? Second thing I want to talk about, it's the funding. All the world, US, Europe, all the countries, they consider themselves Democrats. They need to go ahead and freeze all Hamas account everywhere around the world. I'm not talking about just stopping the donation. I'm talking about freezing the assets all around the world. Freeze all the bank accounts, everything associated with these bank accounts, with Hamas bank accounts, even personal people, that associate with them. They need to stop all money transferring through apps. This way you're gonna hurt this organization really, really, like you're gonna kill that organization as far as funding. We see things today that the world might forgot. There is the line is being faded between good and bad. There is good and bad. I see all those movements calling themselves, those programs.
Sorry, we lost you there for a second.
I'm saying I see
go.
all those progress movements that everywhere they stepped in, they created destruction. Look what happened in San Francisco. Look what's happening in Europe. Look what's happening in America. Those progress movements, they want to go ahead and create chaos. They want to destroy the culture in each countries they're coming in. This thing had to stop. There is good people, there is bad people, and bad people need to be eliminated. I don't care who you are. You wake up in the morning with one target to harm and kill other people. You need to know that your life is in danger and you're not going to come out and clean. This is how you fight terror. This is how whoever read history need to know. You win when you're strong. I'm not saying don't have mercy. You do need to have mercy, but you need to fight in order to go ahead and eliminate every threat of people that are trying to come kill you and destroy,
So something I'd like
Some
to break in real
updates.
quick with
Breaking.
is that the president of the European Commission, according to I-24 News, I'd seen a video of this earlier, but I couldn't confirm. I was waiting for a actual news station to confirm something like this. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, actually had to rush to a bomb shelter herself there in Tel Aviv as rockets were shot at Tel Aviv while she was there. So, I mean, at some point, this just becomes more than just an act of war against Israel when you start shooting when you know that these large dignitaries from other nations are over there right now.
Point of info on Ursula von der Leyen. Ursula von der Leyen's visit to Israel should be viewed with skepticism because before this conflict, Ursula von der Leyen introduced the CEAS, which was the obligatory quota system for the member nations of the 27 to take any amount of unvetted migrants from any nation, and has resulted in what this event has overshadowed. Lampedusa in southern Italy, an island of 6,000 people, has an unopposed flotilla so far of 65,000 male migrants from North Africa, coming mainly from Libya. The southern coast of Spain, similarly. Ursula von der Leyen, the unappointed, unmandated, undemocratically appointed member of the European Commission, was offered 3 jobs before her appointment. The NATO Secretary General.
Graham,
just a moment,
I'm sorry.
please.
There's been a shooting. There's been a shooting.
Go on.
It was from the Lebanese territory into Israeli territory, and IDF are responding with artillery.
Yeah, we know. But I wanted to say.
Sorry, can I just finish one thing?
Now responding.
Are you serious?
The IDF is now responding with artillery fire in Lebanon after that gunfire was identified. It's toward the northern town of Misgavam, and that's according to both Emmanuel Fabi and other IDF or sources close to the IDF as well. Just to give a quick report on the combat.
15 more seconds. 15 more seconds, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there is 2 faces to Ursula von der Leyen. There is the face that goes to Israel and shakes the hand of Israelis saying you have our support. And then there is the other side of the face of Ursula von der Leyen and her background and her family's background and her commitment to the destabilization of the 27 European nations, except for Poland and Hungary, who have refused to take part in the CEAS. So while the presence of a titular figurehead in the nation of Israel is good for the cameras and good for the sound bites, there is 2 faces to that woman, and her other 2 jobs she was offered before she chose EU Commissioner was head of the IMF or NATO Secretary General, but she did not want to take over from Jens Stoltenberg because she realized that the Minsk Accords, as per Hollande and Merkel, had been abandoned and were for the purpose of arming Ukraine surreptitiously. Now, just bear that in mind. Ursula von der Leyen is not a democratically elected representative, has no accountability to any member of any nation of the 27. She's appointed in a supranational organization by elected members of the European Parliament, and the UK did a very wise thing in exiting that nefarious organization. Thank you.
I'm going to buy you a watch for Christmas. That's the longest 15 seconds I've ever encountered.
That's an Irish 15 seconds. It's called. It's the same as it's the same as a country mile. It's an Irish 15 seconds, which is 3 minutes.
So before I'll give Chet will give the hand to anyone. I want to also I want to also to inform that Kiryat Shmona, there's been sounds of firing, but people are ordered to stay in their houses. It's really next to Misgav, what she said, but it's practically our forces shooting, okay, not other people shooting. That's what they report.
Explosions in Tel Aviv? Is that possible?
No, not explosions. No, I was talking about Kiryat Shmona.
No, I'm just saying, I've just got a message from Tel Aviv.
There are rockets on Tel Aviv. Ofir is in Tel Aviv, he can update you.
Okay.
All right, and then.
So listen, I just was in the middle of thing. Okay, so let me finish. Can I finish?
Yes, just real quick after I say, Daniel Hagari, the IDF spokesperson, came out with a statement here saying the military rabbinate accompanies the process of identification and burial. So far, notices have been given to 258 families of IDF martyrs. This effort joins a joint effort by the Home Front Command, the Israeli police, the security forces, and government ministries and local authorities, including the Center for Families and the Missing, which has been working in recent days to locate or identify missing persons. Just want to give out the statement there from the IDF spokesperson. All right, go ahead. Where is Ophir?
It's Ophir. Poor Ophir. He's been trying to finish.
I don't see Ophir, but I saw Noga is waving her hand, so go ahead, Noga.
Actually, a couple of things at this point. First of all, no, 2.5, because the 15-second, the Irish 15 seconds sound very similar and the same length as the Israeli ones. I want to start with Ophir and then go to GB because they're actually the same things. One of the things that I've specialized in the past 15 years in the Foreign Office that I've just left, the timing here is incredible, is EU funding specifically to causes such as the Palestinians and Hamas. And I have to say that even though I agree it's a good idea to freeze Hamas funds, I also have to remind everyone the Hamas funds have been frozen in the EU for the last at least since 2014. I think it's more than that, but I remember 2014 for sure, and it's the same for the US, and they've been acknowledged as a terror organization in both. And the problem with that isn't that the Europeans and the Americans aren't freezing the funds. They're in fact holding quite a lot of Hamas funds. The problem is that Hamas has found other avenues and with partners that are not going to be freezing Hamas funds. So I understand the sentiment and I more than share it. But in this particular instance, Hamas has not been holding funds that we know of in anywhere in the Western world for quite a while now. It might be easier for us now to find Hamas affiliates and stop them, but the point, I think, GB, you have to remember about Ursula von der Leyen and about the EU is that it's more than anything else, it's a huge bureaucracy, and as such, it's the best the world has ever seen since the Roman Empire. And
I have to break in real quick, Nugget. It was something footage that was just released via the South First Responders that's really fucking disturbing. This is footage from a GoPro camera of a Palestinian terrorist from Hamas, or whatever the fuck you want to call these people, that shows how they during this massacre at the outdoor festival. I literally just watched it. They literally go up to the porta johns where people were hiding inside of them and just go point blank up to each and every one and firing right at the center of them to make
I just
sure that the
retweeted
people
it.
hiding
I'll put
inside
it
of
up
them
in the next.
they
were
were
killed,
prepared
which is just fucking devastating. What are the?
they were prepared
I'll
to the
put it up in
extent
the
that
next chat.
in the south there are miguniot. They're like bomb shelters spread around in case of like a rocket attack, and they were prepared to the extent that they knew where they are and they went into them and they were full of people. They threw grenades inside and killed everyone in there. That's why
No, guys,
they
talking
have
about
so
a
many.
video where in
I know,
Beirut they put in the
I
toilet.
know what he's
In
talking
the
about. I'm
toilets, they
adding.
shot him
I
in the
I
toilets.
know. I'm adding to it. I'm saying the toilets are actually, believe it or not, they're not the worst that they did. These people, they didn't even shoot them. They threw grenades inside of bomb shelters and they killed everyone inside, because that's what happens when you throw a grenade into a crowded, small, concrete reinforced rooms. But to get back to the point I was trying to make, the European Union is a huge bureaucracy. It can be used for good and it can be used for evil, but make no mistake, it's one of the most powerful forces in the Western world today, and they don't need guns to do that. So if they had it in their minds to actually chase Hamas down in the sense that they wanted to stop Hamas, they could do it right now. Hamas is already registered as a terror organization. It should be the easiest thing in the world. They have already stopped a lot of Hamas funding. So I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that being the way we bring them down, simply because this is an effort that has already been in place for many years. And the problem with bureaucracies, despite their awesome power, is that it takes a long time to change them. And in that regard, GB, Ursula von der Leyen is actually friendlier to Israel than the previous holders of that position. And I think I don't disagree with your analysis of the CEAS, but you have to remember that it's a European policy and it has more to do with defending Italy and Spain from having to hold everyone, and sort of like burden sharing after Germany got left holding the stick in 2015 when 1 million Syrians washed through Europe to wind up in Germany than anything else. So it's basically that they were trying to kill the ports of entry, not to kill, but to redistribute from the ports of entry, which were Italy and Spain, and make sure that Germany isn't the only one holding refugees at the end of the day. The problem isn't the redistribution. The problem is that the European Union is allowing these people in the first place. And the good news in that are that since Meloni was elected, she's a sane right-wing leader in Italy. It's a first for Italy for a while. And the Italians have started shooting people who tried to cross their borders instead of giving them blankets. And
well, Meloni, unfortunately, was sat down beside Ursula von der Leyen in front of a press conference 5 days ago, like a bold schoolgirl, and told by Ursula von der Leyen, with Meloni's eyes wide open, like a scolded child, that the Italians were now changing their policy. And while you may be right about the attitude of Ursula von der Leyen
towards Israel, yeah.
Towards Israel, with respect to her predecessor, the difficulty that people who are not on the ground can't see is that the CEAS is not a quota redistribution system.
Yes.
It is an imposition, regardless of the societies into which the quotas are placed, capability of dealing with it. And also, I would remind you that Angela Merkel did invite, not
yes, absolutely. Angela Merkel opened the floodgates.
Yes, and
what
also
the hell
Merkel.
has this got to do with the conflict? I'm sorry.
Okay, I have no problem. Hang on.
It does have something to do with the conflict,
and I'm going to wrap it here. It
has a lot to do with the conflict, because the fact is that a large amount of unvetted migrants who have entered Europe, for example, the man who beheaded 2 people in my country a few months ago, had over $250,000 in the wall of his apartment while receiving €200 a week. 6 members of an Islamic terrorist cell were arrested for funneling over $60 million for terrorist financing.
Can I jump in there for 1 second?
Guys,
I
come
think,
on.
Can I? No, I want to jump in there for 1 second. No, this is the story. Hang on. This is the story, and I'll tell you why.
Let me go to Colonel
I'm not
Jeff,
interested in the EU bloody story. No one cares about the EU. No one cares about the EU.
Mistake.
Can you read me?
And that's a mistake. You have to understand that.
No, it's not a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. No one on this forum cares about the EU. I'll tell you what they do care about. I'll tell you what they do care.
Okay. Let's everyone take a breath. I think Chet is having problems hearing us, and we can't hear him. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, I'm having connection.
Order.
Can you hear me now, Monica?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Can you hear me now, Monica?
Yeah.
I think anytime too many of you open your mics like that, it causes like everyone to have to try to connect to me at the same time. So please do not do that if you all are up here. Colonel Jeff, let me head over to you.
Wait, before that,
Chet, thanks for bringing me up. I appreciate it. I wanted to know that there's posts out that say that the Israeli Defense Forces are demanding that the Palestinians move to one part of the Gaza. I thought it was a request, right? I thought it wasn't a demand, right? Does anyone have the actual verbiage from the Israeli government on that?
Does it matter?
Exactly.
Yeah, it does. It does. It
doesn't matter. Look, oh God, here we go again. Look, here's what's really.
Do they want to die?
All right.
Do they want to die? I mean, I'm done with this bullshit. If they want to provide human shields
what the
for
wording
Hamas,
is?
They
do
can
you want an apology for Hamas?
No one can hear if multiple people are talking at the same time. Please, one at a time.
Guys, wait a second. After Chet is talking, you're making me very nervous with all the screaming. So please lower the conversation, okay? Please. Thank you.
Yes, let's keep decorum here. Remember, this has been going on for quite a while, and we've been doing quite well. So let's keep that going.
To answer your question directly, the IDF spokesperson gave out a few videos 3 or 4 days ago. It's a haze. I haven't slept more than 3 hours a day for the past week, but they gave out a video that explained where it is that you should go and strongly urged the community to move out of the designated areas, thus tipping
I do
away
have breaking
some of
news.
the
The
elements of.
Lebanese army is now firing artillery towards Israel in response.
Hang on, the Lebanese army or
The
Hezbollah?
Or Hezbollah.
Lebanese army is what I just
Wow,
stated. Lebanese
wow.
That's
army.
not good.
There
Are
is
you
no
sure that's
Lebanese
not?
army.
Okay,
There is no
are you?
Lebanese army.
Yes, yes, there is. But sorry, Chet, are you sure is it a source reliable enough to know the difference?
This is the
Is
best.
it?
I mean, they haven't come out with anything bad before on their sourcing here. So I mean, we'll see if it gets backed up by additional sources. But I am
Chet,
seeing at
you
What
least
is the
one
understand
source?
source reporting
you
that the
you
Lebanese
understand
army
that
is reported.
once they do that, if it's confirmed that they're them, you know it's a game changer here. So I'm sure they will.
It is confirmed. Lebanese media is claiming that artillery fire is currently being exchanged between the Lebanese army and the IDF along the border. So this has now become a multi-front war, and that was a really bad fucking move.
Yes, and
It's also
let me say,
surprising because the
second,
Lebanese parliament was actually.
just a second. Let me just clarify.
Soldiers of the United Nations Interim Force in southern Lebanon have reportedly now been ordered to bomb shelters due to the increased intensity of current cross-border fighting in the area.
Good for them. So let me summarize it. If that is true, then Lebanon, RIP. That's it.
I would
Well,
say
what I
that
was
even
going to
though
suggest.
one second, no, 1 second. I would say even though the Lebanese media says it was Lebanese armed forces, and it might be. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. That's not good enough for me for a confirmation. It's less
Yeah.
reliable than some websites. Because in other words, they're trying to show solidarity with Lebanon and with the Palestinians and with Hezbollah in their own weird way. It could be that. I guess is what I'm saying. Could be.
I also want to remind
I
you
mean,
that
but
the
in my
Lebanese
mind, there's
parliament.
not that big of a difference between Hezbollah and the Lebanese army in the beginning, anyways. Because I mean, they're both. I mean, Hezbollah's a military. As much as we think of them just as a terrorist organization, they're more than just a terrorist organization. They're also a political party and a major political party in
in the
Lebanon,
government.
in
They're
the
part
actual
of the
government, in the
government,
actual
They're
right?
not part of the
representative.
government because there is no government at the moment. But guys, the Lebanese parliament issued a statement saying they don't want to get dragged into Hezbollah wars. They did it yesterday, which is why I'm saying I'm not saying it's not true, but it is odd. And it also means that there might be changes in Lebanon that we don't know of. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the reason why Lebanon doesn't have a president at the moment is because the way that the Lebanese constitution is constructed, you need a certain number of people to hold the vote. Hezbollah doesn't have enough members to win the vote, but they have enough members so that if they leave the room, if they think that they're not winning, then the vote cannot be held. And that's what Hezbollah has been doing for months now. So Lebanon is
Remind me, Noga. Remind me, the prime minister in Lebanese constitution, the prime minister has to be Sunni. The president has.
I'm sorry, I keep mixing them up. One of them is Christian, one of them Sunni, one is Shia. It's the Lebanese system is too complicated for me. I'm sorry.
Right. No problem.
But the numbers are as keto as such, and I had them written down at one point because I did something else with it a while ago, which is why I remember this particular thing. And I used to think it's funny because every time that they do that, when Hezbollah would realize that the person that they want to win doesn't have the votes, they would just literally get up and leave the room. And you had people like Macron and Biden call what's his name that is now leading Hezbollah in parliament and tell him, no, but this time you have to stay and actually allow the vote to go on. And they would say, yes, and then walk out. Again, since it's not
I'm
my politics and
shocked
someone
they
else's,
didn't
I thought
listen
it
to
was funny at
Biden.
the time.
Noga,
But
Noga, who are you? No, no. What?
I'm sorry, who
Absolutely
are
not.
you?
Yeah, who are you? Absolutely
Uh,
not. I am an American veteran. What you're
okay.
saying, absolutely not. No.
Which part? What do you find? What do you have issue with? How have I offended?
All of it.
I need more.
Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but Noga said a lot of things on a lot of issues, right?
Yeah, I talk a lot. So if you
Yeah,
wanna,
Gretchen, if you're gonna, I mean, she's been an ally to the space. Clearly, you both have different perspectives. So if you're going to say that, then I would appreciate it if you would specify what the offense was.
yeah, me too.
Same.
Gretchen, you can please specify, or you can please leave.
This is one of those speak now or forever hold your peace moments.
So a bit of karma. The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, rushing to a bomb shelter as rocket alert sirens blare in Tel Aviv. She funded this. Now she's fucking getting it back.
So, Chet, I was wondering whether we talked about the Amir of Qatar and what he said. If bombing
No,
of Gaza
please
doesn't
go into that.
stop,
No, please.
if bombing of Gaza doesn't stop, we will stop gas supply of the world. That's the Amir of Qatar.
I've heard that come out. I did not see that actually be able to be confirmed anywhere yet. So I know that was spread by some people's accounts here on the platform, but as far as I've been able to see, I haven't seen any indication that that's actually accurate, because I have access to Reuters and like Bloomberg type lines, and that sort of shit would change the oil markets pretty quickly if that.
I'll DM you that tweet.
Okay.
Was that before or after they said that they were trying to help negotiate the hostage release? Because they've been saying things all across the board while they're hiding the Hamas people there. So they're full of shit in every direction. Sorry, I don't know, Noga, if you were still speaking.
Qatar does rely on those very same sales. So I mean, it's interesting. Qatar is the most successful country in the world, maybe the only one right now.
Exactly.
Able to play this double game of being allies with Iran, have a massive U.S. airbase there, so allies with the West. They fund American think tanks. They're very, very underrated, not by people in this room, but by the wider public. Very underrated malign player on all this.
Turkey is the other one, but yes.
I would say Turkey's not militarily or not NATO, but in terms of like U.S. presence and funding universities and think tanks and lobbies, they're less influential. But yeah, good point.
And the best example would be Al Jazeera and AJ Plus. If you see their feed, which is totally funded by Qatar, you will see exactly what they're doing. And I still don't understand why these
the Army Command
of
the Directorate of the Army Command out of the Lebanese Army's Directorate of Guidance has issued the following statement, saying the Israeli enemy targets an unoccupied Lebanese army watchtower outside the town of Alma al-Sha'ab, saying on 10/13/2023, the Israeli enemy in the outskirts of the town of Alma al-Shabab targeted an unoccupied Lebanese army watchtower used on a circumstantial basis during the implementation of security missions and measures, and no casualties were recorded among the military. But that is at least a confirmation now from the Lebanese army directly that they had their watchtower struck, which would make sense then why we would be hearing that they would be actually involved in returning artillery fire here too.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier, that the Lebanese tower was struck, but I think that was from the Israeli
That
side
was a
that
few
they
days ago,
admitted
but
it.
now once again. But regarding what Ravi said regarding Al Jazeera, I don't know if you know, but today it was signed that Al Jazeera is going out of Israel officially. Okay, so basically, I think somebody woke up in the government, the Ministry of Communications, and decided that today Al Jazeera will stop because they are funding Hamas, and since they are funding Hamas and it's a government-owned, I don't know, reporting agency, so they will be out of Israel today.
Well, absolutely spot on, because, can I just finish? I think this is such a big issue with that point, that was raised earlier by GP. If you look at his feed, this is also information warfare. And that's exactly why Al Jazeera, AJ Plus, just go to their feed and see what shit they've been saying. This is insanity. And the point about Qatar, and I keep going back to that, you need to look at Hamas, you need to look at Iran, you need to scrutinize Qatar, you need to scrutinize China. This is totally a coup that somebody said, right? It is this versus that. So you need to make that choice today. And the countries in the West, including European Union, have to make that fucking, sorry for my language, choice right now. Because you'll be going back to, 80, 90 years. And the world has to realign, reorient now.
Jeff, my question was...
Sorry, guys, I got emotional.
That's all right. Chet, in that statement, I don't think we heard confirmation that Lebanon itself returned fire. Did we?
Correct. That's why I just said it would just make sense to me, though, given the fact that we are hearing that actual official word from the Lebanese army that one of their own facilities got struck by the IDF, that they would do a show of force as return of fire.
All right. Let's wait for the confirmation. I'm skeptical, but let's see.
I mean, they did say it was unmanned, so who knows? Who knows at this point? It is hard to say. I think you're willing. I think you're right to be skeptical for sure, AB. Does anyone else have any other alerts that have crossed over in the last little bit from Israel? Because I'm just looking at a couple things on my side. One of them being the IDF saying light gunfire was identified toward a number of military posts along the Lebanon border. Tank shells and there was a tank. This is worded weird. A tank shelled a Hezbollah post on the border, and artillery shelled the source of the gunfire for one of the areas as well. So that's also happening up there on the northern border. IDF spokesperson also came out with a statement 2 minutes ago, saying further to the reports after IDF forces searched the area, an intrusion into Hanita settlement was ruled out. Also, in the last hour, small arms fire was detected at a number of posts on the Lebanese border. IDF forces responded by firing tanks at an infrastructure and observation post of the terrorist organization Hezbollah and firing artillery at the sources of the fire as well. IDF forces are deployed in the area, and that's the latest statement from Hagari. He's, of course, that's in response to the earlier news that we had heard several hours back about the potential incursion there to Hanida itself. It looks like they were at least able to stop a direct incursion from Hezbollah into the country.
So I suspect about that previous incident, if it happened, what actually happened was that it's an unmanned post. Hezbollah took it over, fired something from there. Israel returned fire on Hezbollah. Lebanese armed forces are claiming that they actually returned fire so that they don't look like useless pieces of shit, which is what they are.
Well, I mean, and then there was, I don't know if you were aware of this, AB, because you might have been asleep, but there was also and you can tell me if you've heard of this or not, but there was the border wall of between Israel and Lebanon that was attacked by a rocket fire or artillery shell, one of the two, and had damage, and that's what caused the initial alert in Hanida in that area about there being a possible infiltration in that area as well earlier.
I don't know if anyone's heard of this person. I haven't, but according to Joe Trusman, who's a very, very credible guy with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, Ali Nasman, a famous Gaza personality, has been killed, according to Palestinian reports. I think he's involved in Palestinian propaganda, if I'm not mistaken, for one of their so-called news channels or whatever, Gaza news channels.
Interesting. It's very interesting. And he's connected to Hamas as well, I'm presuming.
Yes, Hamas. He's a Hamas guy. I think when I did a quick search, I think he started Hamas TV channel in our social media thing in Gaza.
Okay, Noga, you were, I believe, still saying something, or were you done? So I can go over to BJ. I can't hear Noga if she's talking.
I actually have a bit of breaking news someone just sent me. The Reuters live feed cut off a few minutes ago, and the person who sent it to me says, and I'm trying to get to that point, but they think that there was a direct hit on the feed. Now I don't know, Chet. I'm gonna send you the YouTube link. It was a live feed, and it just goes blank at some point. But I'm not seeing, like, I don't know if it was hit, if we would see
Is this
something
in Gaza?
No, Lebanon. And the title is live explosions near Lebanon-Israel border.
Yes, but Lebanon have a very problematic infrastructure. They have electricity on and off, mostly off. They have communication on and off, mostly off. So that doesn't mean anything.
Okay, cool. So Chet, then I'm not gonna bother sending it to you, but Okay, never mind.
By the way, the video from the Amir of Qatar, I don't know if it's somebody can verify. I just pinned it. If it's not verifiable, please remove it. Somebody just tweeted that out. Just look at it.
Do you want to? It's up to you, but do you want to clean up the nest a little bit to, reduce chances
Yeah,
of?
just yes, Rod, would you help with cleaning up the nest a little bit for me, if you would mind?
I actually cannot access it. I've tried several times, but I cannot get to it.
I can
I
do
don't
it.
know why.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Monica. Thank you. So, quickly, BJ, are you here with us?
Yeah, so I'm just listening to all of you and, trying to follow the updates. And, you're all doing a great job. And thank you for everything you're doing. Because, we need to speak up. That's kind of my domain is, just trying to advocate and understanding how to persuade people across the board. It's really frustrating for me prior to, the Freedom Convoy. I was a little bit knee deep in all of this stuff. I used to produce a podcast for an intelligence analyst who was all over this stuff for many, many years. And I was the guy who always was screaming within the Conservative Party and gave a speech on this, on how all our political parties in Canada, and not just Canada, all over the West, and after my trip to the UK a couple weeks ago, seems to be exactly the same there, that we're infested with Islamist activists that have links to Hamas, have links to Iran, and very important that you guys understand, but the rest of the world doesn't understand, is the role of Qatar in laundering the money for Iran, which is a very, very serious issue. One you mentioned before that they've managed to find other avenues to move money. That is true. I am a big Bitcoiner, a Bitcoin advocate, especially since how Bitcoin really saved us during the protests in Ottawa. It was the only donations we could get through to people. However, there is something different than Bitcoin that people need to understand called the crypto space. And a lot of that is some nefarious money for these sorts of groups that have been laundering money through different crypto exchanges. And there's a lot of very, very prominent people in that crypto space who are going to be in a lot of trouble soon when they realize why are so many of these crypto projects rooted in Pakistan, which is also another issue. So this is very, very complicated. But I'll give you a little bit of a white pill from my perspective. We all see this tragedy going on, but for the first time in my life, there are people that are on obviously the center, but even the more left wing of the political spectrum that have been reaching out to me for many, many months. That's why I went on trigonometry when I was in the UK. And they are now starting to listen and to understand that, all us, quote, Islamophobes, white supremacists, whatever label they gave us, have been talking for the past 5-6 years and trying to show people actual evidence of specific groups with links to your political parties operating in your countries and running as candidates from your political parties that, hey, some of them might be bad people. And the last thing I'm going to say, maybe you can help communicate to people, because I know you people are wise enough. One of the things that I struggle here in Canada, US not as bad, but Canadians are particularly naive. And how often I hear in private conversations with people who have links to terrorism funding, their response is, oh, but he's such a nice guy. And I want to scream every time I hear that, because many years living in Colombia and knowing who the paramilitaries are and who the narcotraficantes are and whatever, they're the nice guy. They're the guy in the suit, the guy who donates to charities, the guy who does community events. That's how they're able to penetrate into government, by being a nice guy. Life is not like the movies. There's two types of terrorists. They're the guys who we see in these videos, these animals that are shooting up the porta potties. That's one kind of terrorist. But there's the more dangerous kind of terrorism, and that's the guy who runs a large company or is a lawyer and is accepted to the bar and is dressed handsomely and is an accepted member of the community who enables all of this. And it's just really frustrating. Over all these years, all I would get from political leaders on the inside is, excuses. Every single time, it's just an excuse. But I
PJ,
think that tide is turning now.
Whereabouts? I'm also residing in Canada. What, you don't have to be super specific, but what part of the country are you in?
I'm in Toronto right now.
Okay. So same here, more or less. Very cool, very cool. And kudos on what you guys did with the Freedom Convoy, the truck convoy. I would say you're right about the there's some infiltration in various conservative parties, including Conservative Party of Canada. But I would say the infiltration is orders of magnitude worse in left-leaning and progressive spaces. Doesn't mean either one should be ignored, of course. But you see now with what's happening, some of the reaction from universities across the West and student associations, and some more far left-leaning parties and some more left-leaning politicians, from Jeremy Corbyn to AOC to whatever. I mean, just the level of infiltration, because it's sort of the intersectional ideology, is so much worse in left-leaning spaces. But you're right to say that we should watch out for it in right-leaning parties as well.
I agree with you entirely. You know, a little bit of my background before I was producing podcasts and got into alternative media. I had a business on Ryerson University's campus. And I just wrote about it in my last Substack that it was in 2012, we saw this descent into extreme postmodernism infecting the student body and the faculty. And you know what converged on the last couple of years before I sold my business? Every few weeks, I would get students linked to the MSA, bringing in, you know, from the river to the sea, throw the Jews in the water propaganda, trying to print it at our business. And that's where we always converge with all this stuff. However,
we do have some breaking news now in from Reuters. So Saudi Arabia is now putting the Israeli deal on ice amid the war and in its engagement with Iran. Sources are saying Saudi Arabia is putting U.S.-backed plans to normalize ties with Israel on ice. Two sources familiar with Riyadh's thinking said, signaling a rapid rethinking of its foreign policy priorities as war escalates between Israel and Palestinian group Hamas. The conflict has also pushed the kingdom to engage with Iran. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman took his first phone call from Iranian President Raisi as Riyadh tries to prevent a broader surge in violence across the region. According to its sources, the two sources told Reuters there would be a delay in the U.S.-backed talks on normalization with Israel. That was a key step for the kingdom to secure what Riyadh considers the real prize of a U.S. defense pact in the exchange of that. Now, obviously, this is basically meaning that. Let me see. Skipping a couple of their paragraphs here. The first source familiar with Riyadh's thinking says talks could not be continued for now, and the issue of Israel's concessions for the Palestinians would need to be a bigger priority when discussions resumed. A comment that indicates Riyadh has not abandoned the idea, but is still obviously not here putting it on severe ice. So that is unfortunate to hear, because that's basically exactly what Hamas was aiming for, and they have now gotten what they wanted out of this.
Speaking of being skeptical, just for a quick comment about news reports and obviously we talked about the Lebanese thing. I would say my first reaction is this is less than meets the eye. I could be 100% wrong, of course, and we'll see what develops. But of course, during the hot phase of this war, we're about to see a ground invasion in the next, whatever it is, a relatively short period of time, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Of course, Riyadh, who's the custodian of Mecca and Medina, and one of the leaders of the Sunni Muslim world, cannot be seen to publicly sign it, do a White House lawn kind of handshake during this phase. It's just, it wouldn't happen regardless. So this is sort of, it could be exactly what it sounds like, but I suspect that it's just more like, okay, obviously we're not going to sign an agreement during this war anyway. We might as well put out some noises that makes the street, the so-called Arab street, think that we're still with the good guys.
I truly hope that's what it means. Yeah.
There's another thing to consider. The only reason that Saudi Arabia sided with Israel was on the premonition that on the assumption that Israel is a strong ally and would fight with Saudi Arabia against Iran. And Israel has been caught weak. And the one thing you cannot do in the jungle is show weakness. So the reason, if Saudi Arabia is indeed, I'm not sure they are. I think they're still committed for their own interest, of course, because the peace was for them, not for us. But the only reason if they truly consider not to do it, it's not to protect the Palestinians. Saudis have about as much love for the Palestinians as Israelis do, normally, not now, because the Palestinians have been bad mouthing the king and the kingdom and the prince for a very long time, and are considered rude and extremely ungrateful. The thing is, if Israel will not win this war, it will not be considered again a huge power in the area, then Saudi Arabia has nothing to do with Israel. You don't make peace with the weak.
Breaking news right now. We have a rocket alert just now for the northern Israeli town of Miskav Am on the border with Lebanon.
It's in review, according to the IDF.
Okay.
Yeah. So this kind of reports have to always be considered with a grain of salt, because when someone suspects something, like you hear, I'm exaggerating, of course, like you hear noise and you say maybe there's someone in the house. Doesn't mean there is. So only confirmed reports are reliable. Other than that, what we see is basically chatter. So back to what I'm talking about, Israel must win the war, among other things, in order to achieve peace with Saudi Arabia, because there's no, in the Middle East, there's only peace for the wicked and the strong. There's no, they say there's no respite for the wicked. There is a respite for the wicked in the Middle East, but there's also respite for the strong. If Israel doesn't come up very, very strong, then not only the peace with Saudi Arabia will disappear, so will the peace with Egypt and Jordan and the Emirates and all the rest, because it's all based on the same idea. We tried to destroy Israel, we failed. Now we can see that Israel can help us. It's not the problem, it's a solution. They're very strong, they can help us economically as well as in any other way. Let's make peace with them.
Yeah, but that was the whole point, wasn't it? Why they did the Hamas attack is
just a second, okay, just a second. Okay. But if at any point in time Israel is seen as weak, every Arab in the area, including those that hug us, will say, wait a minute. And then an all-out war will break and we'll still win it. But we'll have to kill many, many of them and conquer the entire area. And we frankly don't want to do that. So if you love Arabs, you want Israel to be strong, because the alternative is that Israel will be perceived as weak. There'll be a grand war, not just with Gaza and perhaps Lebanon, but with all the Arab countries, just like in 67 and 73. And with the weapons that we have, we will win. But we will have to kill much too many that we care to do. So this is the situation. This is why, even if you're pro-Arab, you must want Israel to come up on top strongly, because that's the only way to make peace. And just to remind you, just a week ago, exactly 1 week ago today, we were on the verge of peace between Israel and all the Arab states. All of them was going to have peace with Israel within the next 2 or 3 years, some of them as soon as within the next few months. So the reason that Hamas did this is to stop peace. So you cannot possibly say I'm for peace, but I'm also for Hamas. Not just because it does make sense on its own, because Hamas did this not on the, I mean, the people on the ground did this because they simply hate us. But the leadership did it because they wanted to stop the peace with Saudi Arabia, which would have led to peace with all the rest of the Arab countries, most of it, many of which we already have peace with. Some of them would have joined immediately and some later. So this is a war against peace. That's simple.
I just wouldn't bury the peace just yet. I want to remind you that at the end of the day, after the Yom Kippur War, we had peace with Germany. Sorry, not with Germany, with Egypt. My bad. And I think Israeli show of strength in the Middle East at this point, especially against Iran, would do wonders to Israeli and Saudi relations, to the extent that we might be able to get it done without the Americans if we get our act together. I'm not saying we don't need the Americans. We really, really, really do. I'm just saying we could look more appealing to the Saudis if we play our cards right in this particular case. So if this is what Iran or Hamas had in mind, this is, we had some miscalculations at the beginning, but it looks like they're not reading the map correctly on any level.
No, we did not have any miscalculations. We just fucked up. That's what.
I would accept that.
Can I
yes.
just jump in on this story for a second? You're seeing a common trick that's used in the media, which is thinking past the sale. If you notice what it suggests, because that story is a couple of days old. The first person I saw to point it out was Scott Adams. But what it shows is it says, he's taken a call from they've gotten on the phone together. They've taken a call from Iran. How do you know the call from Iran is not him saying, "What the hell are you doing? Back off now, cut the funding, or we're going to bring in the Americans because we were close to a peace deal and you would have been isolated." So just taking a call doesn't give you the context of the nature of that conversation, and that's the deceptiveness of the media. So I would suggest knowing some people who are behind the scenes of some of this negotiation. I think that's kind of a non-story, not to worry about right now. There are bigger things to be concerned about.
Yes, these foreign offices and foreign ministries are actually quite clever, right? And they know what to read out, as it's called, to the world press. They know what to read out to their domestic press, and they know what to read out to behind the scenes to the Americans and the Israelis. I suspect the Israelis are not.
When I do my live streams, I talk about, we in the legal profession, we have legalese, but there's also another language which is called politics, and how we communicate with saying things without saying things, sort of thing. And I think that's what you're saying from them.
Right, and the rebuilding of the Palestinian comment that the guy made there could be as much as, once you've turned Gaza into metaphorical, not literal parking lot, probably should build some stuff to replace it. Something like that would qualify.
Things just crossing my wires here. The first one is the Dutch government has now advised against unnecessary travel to Lebanon for all of its citizens. And then the second thing that I have crossing my wires here is Egypt rejecting calls now from the Israeli army for Gaza, strips residents to leave their homes and head south, according to Egypt's foreign ministry to Reuters. So that's interesting there. And then Russian deputy foreign minister just came out with a statement with their agency saying that Moscow's contacts with Hamas will continue.
Okay, so about this ridiculous thing saying don't go to Lebanon, it's ridiculous because Lebanon was a shithole to begin with. And just to give you a little idea of what Lebanon is, their government, the finance minister for the government committed a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme. The government of Lebanon performed a Ponzi scheme on the money of on the investors, which is why they are now close to being foreclosed upon, because they receive loans, they promise high interest, and instead of interest, they simply gave the loaners the loans that they got from others, which is a regular Ponzi scheme, and it blew up, and so did Lebanon. So Lebanon is broke. Nothing there works, not the politics, not the economy, anything. It's not like it was a really good country before that all began. So they were considered Switzerland of the Middle East before the PLO got there in the 70s. But since the 70s, it's a shithole that's getting shittier and shittier all the time. We remember the explosion in the harbor that caused massive damage. And it's like Lebanon is a failed country. It's a failed state. They has no future without outside help. They don't have the ability to recuperate because they're completely split up with factions. None of them have any love for one another. None of them is capable of self-sufficiency.
Egypt's foreign ministry with an additional statement saying they stress this measure is a grave violation, in their words, of international humanitarian law to expose lives of more than 1 million Palestinians to danger. But not like it's Hamas doing this; it's Israel.
So of course Egypt is saying that Egypt, unlike the Emirates, for example, Egypt had peace with Israel for interest only, and it was always a peace mainly at the top, meaning the regular Egyptian. So a lot less Egyptians hate us than they did before. Some Egyptians actually like Israel. but the majority of Egyptians who are illiterate and not as fanatic as Iran, but not exactly a guy you would like to be your neighbor. Okay, so uh, there's a lot of hate to Israel there, and
The UAE
the
deal.
government, the government of Egypt. Excuse me a second. The government
Go
of
ahead,
Egypt
AB.
does not need more reason for unrest, so they're giving lip service. That's not surprising at all.
Oh, I've got right now. Biden call with American hostage families is underway, according to NBC News. Go ahead, AB.
No, I was just going to say I mean, it's a tiny country, so it's apples and oranges. But the UAE population likes Israel more than the Egyptian population does, to the extent that it matters.
1,000 times more. Exactly. In the United Arab Emirates, we feel at home. In
Yeah,
Egypt, they just shot two of us, so it's different.
correct. But it's a tiny little emirate versus a country with 70 million people. So, yeah, it's a very different situation.
Yeah, but the Emirates is far more important because the Emirates is the future of the Arab world. They are extremely efficient. They are
Just
innovative. Okay, go ahead.
some further word here, Carmen. The two journalists with Al Jazeera have been injured following an explosion, likely from an Israeli artillery shell, which hit their car in the town of Alma al-Shab in southern Lebanon. After the crossfire border conflict going right now over there, up there in northern Israel.
Some more news. U.S. Secretary of State Austin and Israeli Ministry of Defense Director General Zamir and IDF Deputy Chief of General Staff Baram welcomed an American cargo plane with the Nativim base at the Nativim base. At the Nevatim base. Sorry, my dyslexia is showing. The first landing of such aircraft since the commencement of the war, delivering armaments for the use of the IDF. So that's good news.
You meant Secretary of Defense Austin, though. You said State, but you meant Defense, right? Lord Austin.
Yes,
Yes,
AB, you know that's what he meant.
it says Secretary of State Austin according to Ministry of Defense here. So they have this wrong.
Well, then you should tell them that they're wrong.
And this is an official Israeli post.
It's a busha.
Yep.
All right, well, there's then. Get your secretaries right, guys. If I had Israel in the space right now, I'd chastise them, whoever runs that account.
It's not the first time they made a typo, and I called them out before.
They wanna fix people are fighting a war right now. So I'm sorry on behalf of the state of Israel.
We do now have Qatar's prime minister making another statement saying he is seeking to open humanitarian corridors so aid can reach the Gaza Strip. Of course, keeping in mind that Israel's been very, I don't think in the slightest bit wavering on its point that if anything tries to head its way towards the Gaza Strip, they're going to be striking it straight out of the fucking sky.
They just repaired their tweet.
Sorry, when was Israel wavering on that?
I said they weren't.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you correctly.
Israel is saying something very clearly. Usually we are being very humanitarian and everything, but right now the humanitarian problem is one.
It's someone else's problem.
Yes, let me make it clear. One, they're still shooting rockets at us, so fuck you. Secondly, they're holding our kidnapped men, women, and children, so double fuck you. So you want humanitarian help while you are raping our women? Fuck you 3 times.
That's what it comes down to. It's the hostages, really. Yes, fuck you. But the hostages, if they release the hostages, then maybe, I don't think so, but like at least Israel has that as the excuse for being so firm. Even though they've always been soft when it comes to humanitarian aid, they give them the electricity, the water, everything they ask for, the food, everything they need, the diapers and their tissues for their fake tears. And this time it's fuck you, to quote Rod.
I've actually asked a few people on the shall we call them other spaces, if there's been any talk of Red Cross access. And I keep getting answers like, oh, but we've been discussing the humanitarian corridor. And it's like, no, I want access to the abductees. I want access to the hostages. Yes, they're talking about access to the Israeli. No, I would not the people in Israel, the people in Gaza. And then I get this weird silence, like, oh, we didn't even think of that. It's beyond me. I think Israel might be just a little more polite than the way Rod put it, but it's straight in the head. We're not. We're done.
They actually just repaired their tweet. By the way, I put it in the chat. Chet.
There you go. No need to check that.
Chet, can you look at the
Good
DM?
thing they weren't here, AB.
Sorry, check the chat. I'm checking the chat.
Yeah, I guess they like the new editing feature as well, or maybe they just sent a replacement. I don't know, a replacement tweet.
They deleted their first tweet and made a new one.
The editing feature is horrific. Don't use it.
Qatar,
It's better to
Qatar's
delete and
prime
start over again.
minister is also now saying that he is calling on partners, especially the U.S., to save civilians from the consequences of this crisis.
Qatar can open up their love. I mean, they don't have a direct border, but they can send some planes to.
Yeah, we'll let them go there. We'll even let them land in Ovda, which is in the middle of the desert. So honestly, Qatar wants to come get them. They're welcome to him. Every last one.
It's a very wealthy, very pro-jihad emirate, so they
and they need workers. You know what? They could honestly do with
and Palestinians need
these
jobs.
are people that need jobs. The Qatari need people to work for them that maybe speak the language. This is a match made. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just say that just on the misinformation, disinformation, please, we have about 1,500 people here. Please retweet. I just put chats, please try to tag people to join the place because we have other crazy forces that are creating a lot of disinformation, misinformation. So if you have 1,500, we need 1,500 retweets now. It's not a request, it's a responsibility and really an accountability. So please do that, everyone. We have enough followers following us.
Absolutely. Yes, please repost. Listeners too. We're watching you.
I'm sorry. Did I just hear
Watching
someone say?
you.
Did I just hear someone say please?
No, only Robbie is watching them.
Little less here.
Robbie is watching them.
Hey, listen.
I'm watching.
Oh, I love it. So listen, please, yes, please. See, I said that earlier. I got slammed for being a sensitive chick, but that's okay because I am a sensitive chick and a badass when I need to be. But yes, please retweet the space. That is an order from all the gentlemen in this space. Honestly, we have been super attacked. I know I have been digitally attacked all week. People trying to get into my digital space from all over the world, actually now. So please,
Mine as well.
Please retweet.
All my phones.
Every time you repost a space, an angel gets its wings. I think I read that somewhere. I'm not sure if it's true.
It's absolutely.
Oh, you remind me, it's not reliable. You said all my phones. Maybe it was Auto Miller. All my phones, Auto Miller, not on my son.
All my phones are being attacked. Were being attacked. I completely reset them to factory settings. Actually, so.
U.S. Secretary of State Blinken is now back with the response. You're saying that in his discussions with the Qatari individuals, there's discussed with the Qatari PM to prevent any state, non-state from widening the conflict, stating that the U.S. is working intensively to secure the release of hostages held in Gaza, and is also saying that the U.S. is continuing to discuss with Israel on taking every precaution to avoid harming civilians. And efforts to get humanitarian aid into Gaza are being hampered by Hamas, is the way that Secretary Blinken is wording that, which I think is pretty
Chet, did you mention Hezbollah claiming responsibility for targeting Israeli military posts on the Lebanon border?
Yes, we've had Hezbollah. Yes, correct. Earlier.
Yep.
Right, which they're basically telling the Lebanese armed forces, "Who are you kidding? You didn't do any of that shit. You didn't do any of that shit."
Yeah, and the international court in Hague has announced that they have a right to try Hamas. And I'm saying, save your breath. Save your breath. We don't really need you. You've been this helpful since forever, and you threatened us before. And you can, if you want to get the corpses to try them, we're willing to give you. But other than that, just stay out and shut the fuck up.
Well, why don't we send them to Gaza to show them the people that they should
Yeah,
be talking to?
I don't have a problem with that. BJ, go on, speak.
No, I'm okay.
In
I hope
the
they know a good medium so that they communicate to the dead.
yeah, exactly, Ouija
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
The least surprising news of this morning, in a joint statement released online, Al Qaeda's branches in North Africa and West Africa, Al Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, and the Group for Support of Islam and Muslims, I've never heard of the second one, respectively praised the massive Palestinian assault on Israel.
Didn't the Taliban condemn it? Was I dreaming that the other day? That they actually put out a statement that they condemned it? Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Well, I think they said they wanted permission to cross whatever territory they had to cross in order to reach Israel. The Taliban? Is that what you're talking about?
Somebody, one of the groups in that area, I don't know if it was Al Qaeda or Taliban, but one of them was like, we condemn it and we're not joining the fight. It was very weird. I thought maybe I dreamt it. That was a beautiful dream.
Yeah. Actually, seriously, what they have done is, among many other things, being atrocity it is, it's against Islam. So it's not that Islam does not permit a huge range of atrocities. Everything the ISIS did was perfectly Islamic. Everything that I've never seen a more Islamic organization than ISIS. Of course, it's a very radical interpretation of Islam, but nothing that they did is against anything written in the Quran, including the enslavement. But if you saw what ISIS did, they never killed, as far as I remember, maybe I don't know, remember everything, old people, because that's forbidden in Islam. And I don't remember, although allowed. So even the basic Islamic laws of war, which are quite permissive, they manage to break. So
I think
they're not.
also, Rod, I think Lloyd Austin, that we were just mentioning, the Secretary of Defense, said, I think today in this conference with the press conference with Gallant, that he was one of the people who helped lead the campaign against ISIS, and he said the stuff that he's seen is he says in his words even worse than ISIS, which is really saying something.
Yeah, because ISIS, if you notice, mainly killed and tortured men and women who are captured, but not children and not old people. So even the limits that ISIS had, the Hamas have broken, and not just the Hamas. Let me repeat: ordinary people from Gaza, people who just happened to be around, got in and did things that I cannot even repeat. Not only because I don't want to break in tears, but also because I do not want to deprive you of sleep forever. But I think horrific things. Ordinary people, not people who've been trained or indoctrinated. Ordinary people who did not know anything about this attack because it was kept a secret. Got up in the morning, saw the defense was broken, walked to the nearest kibbutz, which is a walking distance, and did things that ISIS never would have dreamed of doing. Horrible things. And the kidnapping and the raping is just the tip of the iceberg of what they've done. So these are ordinary people from Gaza, which is, like I said, there are no innocents in Gaza. If there were, people, if you see a girl running away crying from people shooting her, you don't care who she is, who's shooting her. You catching her and saving her. Their instinct was to capture and rape. So we're not talking about innocent in Gaza. The people who happened to cross there behaved worse than any ISIS ever did. And on top of that, there is there's mostly free speech in Gaza, not like in a democracy, but it is a weak dictatorship. They don't have the resources to shut everybody up unless they speak very loudly. And as we know, you can write in social media in perfect anonymity. And yet we've never heard a single voice from Gaza saying, hey, that's just wrong. Not a single voice from Gaza saying, hey, that's just wrong. And not just from Gaza. The PLO, which is pretty much the same as the Hamas in this regard, never said, hey, this is just wrong. They said something stupid like we're against that or on blah, blah, blah. But they didn't say, hey, doing that, even if they focus just on the worst of the worst of the worst, they could say, that is just wrong. But they never said anything of the kind. And let me make it absolutely clear. The differences between Hamas and the PLO or Fatah, which is now pretty much the same thing as the Palestinian Authority. And the Palestinian Authority, Fatah and Hamas are not the same thing, but it is the same thing in practice. So they are no different than Hamas. There are differences between them, just like there are differences between the Republican and Democratic Party. But neither party would agree to bring back slavery or to just bomb countries that come out as wrong for them, right? In the important issues, there are no differences in that regard. So Hamas and the PLO are two different factions that fight among themselves over power, but they do the same thing. The PLO have sent terrorists that murdered children before. This is not new. The only thing that's new about it is the fact that the atrocities were filmed, the fact that the atrocities were in that scale. Because taking a baby, I think she was 3 years old or so, and holding her in the arm and crushing her head against the rocks is something that happened before by the PLO. And the person who did it bragged about it. So let me make it clear to you. Not all the Arabs are like that. Not all the Palestinians may be like that, but all the Palestinians are not against that. And for that, we call them out and say, okay, maybe not any one of them would have done that, but if there's no one who speaks against that, they are all guilty. None of them is innocent. None of them deserve our compassion. None of them deserve pity. None of them deserve to breathe as much as I'm concerned. However, we are not going to commit genocide because we're incapable of that. It's not going to happen. But we are able to kill all those responsible, and we're talking about everyone in Hamas, that is at least 10,000 people, probably a little more, and we are capable of saying, hey, you cannot live here. You cannot live on our border. You cannot. We will not expose ourselves to this ever again. You have to go. Where? We don't give a damn.
I would say there's some. I'm not trying to sound lefty, but I just want to sound accurate. I think there are innocents everywhere. Not the same amount.
Just real quick, there's another statement from the IDF. The IDF will protect the people of Israel. Hamas indiscriminately slaughtered innocent Israeli civilians. Now Hamas is hiding behind the people in Gaza. That's why we're asking them to move, because the IDF will protect the people of Israel. That's the only statement they made, and that's it.
So we have a difference of opinion of what innocent means. So if there is a rape going on, a little girl is being raped by a group of men to death, and someone walks by and does nothing and walk out, is he innocent or not?
That's a good question. I mean, if he can't do anything to stop it, then I'll say
No. Obviously, if he can do anything about it, that's different. But if he can do something about it, if he has a gun, they don't. If he can, call the police.
I'm sorry. I have to stop you. And I'm sorry. The use of innocent in of itself is playing into the enemy's hands. The question isn't of innocence. It's of right and wrong. It is absolutely wrong to kill an Israeli soldier, because regardless of the fact that he's wearing a uniform, he is defending people. And the point is that the thing that we don't allow to do is to violently attack people. That is the problem. It is absolutely wrong to kill Israeli soldiers because they are on the side of right and they are defending rights and freedoms. And it is absolutely okay to kill Hamas terrorists because they are on the side of wrong and they're killing people. And I don't care that the mere use of the fact that we're talking about innocent people, that's where we go wrong. It
I just want
There's
to.
an
creates
update from
some
the
sort of
Israeli Air
moral
Force,
equivalence.
real quick. During the last day, IDF forces carried out local raids in the territory of the Gaza Strip to complete the effort to cleanse the area of terrorists and weapons. In these operations, an effort was also made to locate missing persons. Furthermore, translate. Infantry and armored forces searched and gathered in the area for findings that may help in the effort to locate the missing and thwarted terrorist infrastructure and terrorist cells found in the area, among which a cell of terrorist organization Hamas fired anti-tank missiles at Israeli territory. Continuing, translate post. In addition, the Air Force continued its attacks on the targets of the terrorist organization Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and in the process, also attacks on TMAS launchers immediately after they were launched towards Israel. Attached is documentation of Air Force strikes during the launch of anti-aircraft fire toward the territory of the State of Israel from the north of the Gaza Strip. More details will be provided in a statement of the from the IDF spokesman, Brigadier General Daniel Hagari. So he's going to provide more. I guess he's going to make a live statement soon.
Okay, so all I'm saying, I don't want to be the resident lefty because I'm very, 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 very far from a lefty. But it's not a smart way to talk, Rod, in my opinion. All right, so the two societies are not equal. Of course, I agree that IDF soldiers are different than Hamas terrorists night and day, just like I agree that American soldiers are different than ISIS
Hey
fighters.
guys, heads up, Chet's having connection issues.
It seems like.
Yeah. So if we crash again, oh, there you are. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we might crash. So all I'm pointing out is, and I get the hyperbole, and I get the sort of hyped up thing, and I get the bloodlust. To be honest with you, I feel the same thing. And it is very true that Hamas has majority support among Gaza residents. That's also true and needs to be pointed out. And it's also true that you're not morally innocent if you're one of the crowds cheering on the raped women being paraded down the street, or the families being paraded down the street, or the dead bodies being paraded down the street. I agree with all of that. And it's also true that a siege is totally illegal under these circumstances, and unintentionally killing civilians is totally legal, although all that's true. It is not true to say, it's just factually not true to say that there are no innocents in any location of 2 million people. There might be few innocents, like true innocents, but it's not true to say there are no innocents, and it's bad. In addition to being factually untrue, it's also bad PR for Israel to say such or for people who are pro-Israel to say.
Real quick, let's go to the hands
This
because
is
we need
why we
to
need to
clear
stop.
out the speakers.
Okay.
So let's go to the hands real quick. I don't know who was first. Chet.
It was
Drew.
Drew.
I think it's.
Go ahead, Drew.
How's it going, y'all? Thanks for having me up here. Yeah, just real quick, thanks for having this space. I think that there's a lot of misinformation going on out there right now. We're kind of battling two wars right now, one on the ground and one online in the cybersphere. And the war of information, at this point, I would have to say it just doesn't matter. And it's really good to see. I guess there's some people in here that I've been on other spaces with about political talks. And it's good to see unity in here amongst Jews. Because there's really some of these spaces that I'm listening to, they're just very depressing. But as someone that really hates Joe Biden, I do have to say that I am kind of satisfied with the steps that he has been taking. And I have to tell you, I do royally hate Joe Biden. But I am pretty happy with the unity and the steps that he's taking to defend our sister Israel. Just for the Israelis in here, I live in Texas, and I think that you should do a quick study on how Texas came to be, because there once wasn't a Texas, it was Mexico, and we fought for this land and won. And to this day, we haven't had missiles come across from Mexico. We do have cartel members, but you know, that's a whole different thing. It's not because of a land dispute anymore. So yeah, I know that there's a lot of panelists, there's a lot of things to say, and I really appreciate y'all letting me up here, just to have a voice.
Thanks, Drew. You know what? I would argue that it is actually still over a land dispute, because if you talk to Central American people, you talk to Mexicans in general, they will tell you that there is a bit of a geographical jihad, if you will. It's like, it was ours, damn it, we're coming back to get it. And there have been generations who have been steeped in that. So I think there is a little bit of that going on. Also, thank you for your kind words about the space. It's one reason why I'm still in this space. I don't hang out in spaces very often, and especially this week, they're crazy. I think it's interesting that I'm assuming that you've served. Am I correct?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Okay, cool. Well, you have manners like someone and who has, and a love for the country. So I think it's interesting, though, that you praise Joe Biden's efforts and clearly have a disdain for him, which I share. But what I'm seeing is quite the opposite amongst conservatives, particularly where, they don't want us to get into another war, leave Israel unto itself. This is bullshit, blah, 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 as the story goes. And it's caused quite the divide amongst conservatives. And so I don't know if I see my brother Chad is in here, so I don't know if he's going to touch on that, or if you have any ideas around that before we go to the next hand.
I mean,
Real
you either
quick,
teach history or you become the history.
Sorry,
so.
Real quick, there's an update from the Israeli Air Force. Following the initial report, an unidentified target was identified that crossed the Lebanese territory to the Israeli territory, which the air defense fighters successfully intercepted. So that's good news. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Drew. Were you going to finish your thought?
Go ahead, Drew.
Oh no, I was just saying, you either teach history or you become the history.
Yeah, amen. Cool. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Angela, I'm trying to bring you
Thank
up. Thank you. I think, is it Mooniter or Mooniter?
Hi, Monica. Yes, it is Mooniter. First, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. As an Iranian, who is maybe the regime is not part of this conflict as of yet, but I think that as an Iranian, I need to also shed a light on what this regime is and how they contribute to this conflict. BJ brought up a very great point in regards to our Canadian government, because I'm also a resident. I'm a citizen of Canada, and I also reside in Toronto. So what happened is that around 2 years ago, as many of your listeners probably know, or if they don't know, 2 years ago, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard shot a civilian plane, a Ukrainian civilian plane, that resulted in the death of 176 innocent passengers. And many of those passengers were Canadians. So IRGC has Canadian blood on their hands. And yet our government has failed to enlist them in the terrorist lists. And why is that? It's because they are too far in to our financial system. And by enlisting them, it will create a chaos in our community, in our Canadian community. And also, when the IRGC was committing crimes last year during the Women Life Freedom Uprising, Iranians, thousands of Iranians, took to the streets of the world, from Berlin to Toronto, from LA to Sydney, and they protested against the IRGC, and they said, put them on the list. Have Palestinians done the same thing for Hamas? Have you ever seen a rally around the world that Palestinians actually took to the streets and said Hamas is not us? They've never done that. And that's just to show that this, if civilians are getting killed in Gaza and they're getting killed in Israel, it's the neglect of the leaders of the world, the democratic countries who praise no war, diplomacy. Well, you failed in your diplomacy because you failed to put IRGC in the terrorist list in Europe and also in Canada. So the Gazan people from Gaza, their blood, the Israeli blood, and also the Israeli soldiers' blood, it's on your hands as well, and you have to take responsibility for it. And it's already too late. You have to finish this conflict, or the Middle East, the chaos that you have created in Middle East since the 70s, it's never going to go away. And as you see in Paris, your teacher is going to get stopped by Islamists because you did not stand up in front of them when you needed to. Thank you.
All right, Avi.
Hey.
Well said.
Yeah, definitely monitor it. I'm sign on any word.
Wait, all of a sudden we do have, I do want to let you know, we do have rockets launching currently against the city of Ashkelon, to the north of Gaza Strip just right now. Okay, go ahead, Avi.
I want to tell you a few things that I want the world to know. Everything that any word that word says, 100% true. There is no innocence over there. Anyone who calls himself Palestinian, and I don't care if it's PLO, if it's Ramallah, even if it's inside Israel, if you not call yourself an Arabic, Israeli Arabic, and you call yourself a Palestinian, you're not an innocent, and I'll tell you why. I know world didn't want to give you, graphic things and stuff, but I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give you things that you're not gonna see. And I know it from first hand, like about videos and stuff that's coming from centers, command, civilian center commands that my mother-in-law work over there. She's managed the place. So I tell you a few things, and it's not about Hamas, it's about the people, you call it ordinary or innocent, who coming inside from the fence. Like getting a pregnant woman, butcher her, open her belly, and then butcher the newborn. Alright, it's on video. It's not fake. They rape little children. Fucking babies they raped. It's on video. And I want them, all the world will know about it. I didn't talk graphic until now, but I can't hear, the people says there is innocent, no. Anyone who calls himself Palestinian is not innocent. If you live in Israel, call yourself Israeli Arabic, alright, it's alright, I have nothing wrong with you. If you call yourself Palestinian and you see yourself a Palestinian, you're not innocent, you're part of that. If you do nothing against that, you're part of that. Simple as that. I tell you something else, they come and talk and says like 120 families about, kidnaps that they're not alive. Do you know how they know it? Let me tell you how. Do you know they put body bags of children full of ears and body parts and feet, and by through that they know who was the person? Do you know they took heads and body parts inside Gaza when mother go and give candies to the people, their children go with body parts in their hands? Do you know about it? Do you know the fucking took the heads of the people they decapitate into Gaza with bodies? Do you know the fucking 45 years old body they put inside a body bag of a child because there was no legs, no arms, no head? And that stuff, not Hamas, not those Hamas did. That stuff did the people who come after.
I have some breaking news, just really fast. Israeli military says a significant number of Gaza civilians have begun moving southward right now to save themselves. Says almost no casualties in Israel from the rocket fire as the public are heeding to shelter orders as of this time. And then they also said it is confirmed that there are at least 120 captives or hostages in Gaza.
So if anyone come and tell me innocent, no, there is no one innocent. Innocent is the one who trying to run away from the. Innocent is the one who come and stand and says no, no more. This is innocent for me. If you say nothing, you do nothing. You're part of that. You like it or not?
There's some news from the Israeli Mossad. All internet.
I can't hear you reliable. Say that again.
All internet Gaza starting soon.
All internet services.
It's about bloody
That's
time.
significant. They've been going off since last night on all their top channels, so to have them cut off, that's significant.
It's a critical way to try to control the situation, especially if they're going to go on the ground invasion as expected, because you don't want your enemy with the ability to do quick combat, control centers, C2 centers, command and control centers, rather, on the ground at random places, just by able to use their cell phone because of the way the Telegram and the way they're doing their sort of like social media guerrilla warfare. So that's a good thing.
You're rubber banding, Chet.
Roger that.
Angela, welcome. It's good to see your pretty face again. What do you have for us?
Good morning. Sorry, I was on this space with Chet until 5 a.m., so I took a little sneak.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. No, I'm just preparing. We've got, hopefully, he did confirm yesterday. I'm going to bring Robert Spencer on in a couple hours here to talk about the global Islamic terror rise within, obviously, Israel, but around the world. He is, I think, an expert in this situation, and he'll be talking about that in the Day of Rage. So I'm just working on that right now, and if I have anything to say, I'll just chime in.
Cool. Hey, Chad, have you spoken yet?
Guys, I'm gonna take this opportunity to say goodbye. It's Shabbat. It's been Shabbat for a while, but I'm running late, and I need a break.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom to everyone.
Shabbat
Thank you very, very much. Good. One last thing before I leave. In relation to the expert you guys are going to hear soon, and I wish I could stay and listen because I've been following that around. There's been a teacher murdered in Paris. Someone was abducted in Berlin, but then when they realized they weren't Jewish, they were given back. And there was a very confused message from the Prime Minister of Belgium that said that we will never talk to Hamas, but you shouldn't hurt innocent people in Gaza. And honestly, I don't understand how those two statements even worked. But there seems to have been a lot of unrest in at least the European arena. I haven't seen a lot of reports from the American yet. But that's because you guys haven't started your Day of Rage yet, haven't you? Because we're finishing ours, and like Europe is a couple of hours behind. But it does seem to have been a day of, I've now dubbed them childish, murderous tantrums, which is what we're seeing right now. And yeah, we discussed it a little yesterday. Was this is definitely a global problem, not an Israel one. Thank you all very, very much. Good luck with your endeavors. I will try to join you sometime tomorrow night. And thank you for all of your support of Israel. I really appreciate it.
Shabbat shalom. Real quick, anyone who's a speaker, right? If you have nothing to say, we will have to rotate you out because we need space for other requesting speakers. So please put your hand up if you have something to say. We'll call on you, or please drop down. Thank you.
Hey, Chad, do you have something to say?
Well, yeah, there's a couple questions, but it was that you would specifically about military, and then somebody
interrupted you. So I wanted to there's a lot of different aspects to what's going on here. I actually have buddies of mine in the area, there in the Middle East, and there's a huge difference between what's being put out on Twitter. The propaganda machine on all sides, I'll just say it, is extraordinary. But you had asked a question before I was going to go into what I say. But what was that question, Monica?
Well, it's basically I'm commenting on, this continental divide right now going on amongst conservatives, that, it somehow you yourself are a jihadist if you actually believe in Israel's unequivocal right to defend and seek justice, right? Somehow that becomes the revenge tour, and all of us are just equal to Hamas. So I see that happening in conservative circles. Or, we're all baby killers because we're about to, quote, carpet bomb, Gaza. And so I want to know if you could speak to that, because I reject every part of that. And it's just amazing how people on the right side of the aisle have become, and I understand you've served, others have served as well. And war is ugly. We know that, right? And so no one is disagreeing with that sentiment. But this is a growing schism within the party itself, between us alleged Zionist baby killers, who happen to be anti-terrorists, and others who are sitting in pro-terrorist spaces, lobbying stones at the rest of us. So I just wanted to get your perspective, because honestly, I haven't heard your perspective on your show about this yet.
Yeah, I had Patrick Hennessy or Hennessy, whatever, from the Palestinian room. I've sat in there. I've tried to get some perspective, and basically, both sides are lobbying propaganda. The lady that just left, for her to say that for Gaza to be targeting Israeli soldiers is wrong, because based on what's right and wrong. First off, let's break it to its minutia. This is war. I love everybody, trying to pigeonhole and who you should kill and who you shouldn't kill, and this is war. That's why we fight so hard to stay out of war. We can look at each side and say, okay, we'll give you some points to Israel for giving them 8 days to get out of harm's way, with their impending movement into Gaza. Can we look at the geopolitical reasoning behind that? Can we look at the geopolitical what's going to happen after they decide to march through a Gaza? None of which is okay. But you come to the simple fact that this is war. The lady that was just here making a statement that it's wrong to try to shoot an Israeli soldier. When you're a soldier, there's two sides. You try to kill the other side so they don't kill you. That's essentially the bottom basement of what this is. Take all the politics, all the religion out of it. When there's two sides, each side is trying to kill more of the other side. And this is what we're hearing. I understand people are angry that they're Israeli. I understand people are mad that they're Palestinian, or for that matter, Muslim. That's where this is turning into a just snowball's hell that nobody's going to get out of. But I can point to small things that as a soldier bother me. Who are you to bitch about how long it's going to take for us to go into your area to sweep out who attacked them? There was no warning when they hit the concert. There was no warning when they hit the kibbutz. They just went in there and killed civilians. That's a fact. I don't care if it's 40 babies or whatever, but you're killing civilians. You're targeting civilians. And the idea that Israel is showing some restraint by saying to the UN, get everybody south of this town. I have to, if we're calling balls and strikes, I have to give Israel the restraint that they showed there. There's a lot of terrible things going on, but everybody needs to realize, no matter what argument you get into based on ideology, war is ugly. It's very, very ugly. That's why we fight like we do here, to keep us from getting to a point where we find there's a lot of GI Joes out there thumping their chest like Fortnite. Until you hear a 223 round or a 756 hit a piece of concrete behind you, it changes the game. And we all need to understand what's really happening here, and it's sad.
Good morning, guys. I just
woke up. I finally got some rest. Angela, I sent you a DM about a couple of things. Go take a look at that.
Welcome back, Seth. How was your sleep?
Finally, I got a little bit of sleep. Hey, good
I've
morning, Chad.
responded, by the way.
Oh, okay,
So
good. Okay, I'll go take a look. Good morning, Chad. Good to see you. Noam and Avi and Reliable. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys have been going since last night, Chet?
Yes.
Yeah, we've been
Well, I got in
just
here
going since
about 2
about
hours
midnight.
ago.
Okay. All right. So, okay. Let's go a couple of hands, and I want to do a little bit of
Just a second, Stealth. Did you get a reply from Michael regarding what we spoke about?
No.
No secrets.
Let
No
me go
secrets.
take a look. Let's go to let's clear some of that. Good morning,
Hi,
Prodigal.
Prodigal. You really want to speak? Go ahead. Go ahead. We'll skip everyone just for a second. Go ahead, Prodigal.
No, I don't have much to say. I'm just.
Okay.
I think it's interesting that people have been stabbed in France. We've seen a diplomat been stabbed in China. Like people really need to realize when they're trying to equate Hamas with the Palestinian people, this is a terrorist organization. I mean, it's clear. They used to see articles for years why they couldn't get concrete and water. Their own propaganda videos showed the pipes. Can't give them concrete because they built tunnels with it, and I'll end with this. I mean, I try to be fair and objective and just look at things from the U.S. side, but I've told people who I'm close with for some time now that, it does concern me, at least when it came to Russia, that I'm not sure, in the Ukraine situation, that I'm not sure that these people care for the U.S. to, steer the right path more than they want to see us destroyed. And I can tell you now, a lot of the people I see on the Hamas side are pushing this issue. I don't know if they really care about it or they just want to see the U.S. destroyed. I mean, this is, in the end, I've said why I think, Israel is entitled to neutralize Hamas and what I think the U.S. should do. But to hear these people now, especially when they talk about Russia and Xi, I mean, these are people who haven't said a word when Hong Kong was repressed, Tibet was thrown into concentration camps. They're there now. You look at Xinjiang and the Uyghurs. In Russia, I mean, look at the methods Putin used to pacify Dagestan and Chechnya. I mean, Grozny was leveled to the ground. And these are the same people who, are on the side of the argument with me in regards to I don't think the U.S. has much to gain with Ukraine, who are now just eliminating these same actors they champion. And it's just, they're not good faith actors. They're not good faith people, and you should ignore them. Or at least bring these up in spaces. Why didn't you say this when Dagestan was destroyed? Why didn't you say this when Chechnya was destroyed? What about the Uyghurs? What about Tibet? What about Hong Kong? Because in the end, we don't know if they truly believe this or they just hate America. And I'll end with that.
Thank you,
Prodigal.
Prodigal.
No. One second, Reliable. Prodigal, you're absolutely right with what you're saying. Yesterday, somebody gave me a list of the hypocrisy they were hearing from other spaces. These are people I guess they've known for a couple of years on Twitter or at least a year and something in spaces. And there's a uniqueness. It's another mass formation psychosis, literally, to use Carolina's inventive word about what happened during COVID. It's the same thing happening now. I went into the wilderness for a few seconds this morning to a couple of places, and even the speakers on the pro-Israel side are really not pro-Israel speakers. My mouth dropped. I mean, these guys literally are praying for the destruction of Israel based on their comments. So, and even tactically, like, some of their conversations, just a ridiculousness of what they were saying was occurring from, they're like, oh, they're really not going to go into Gaza and, on foot and look for any hostages. That's just virtue signaling. I don't think you guys understand. We are going, there's 3 different units like searching for hostages secretly, right? So that's probably why we haven't gone in, and we could have used completely much worse armament. We could have used what they're saying is what is it, sulfur gas or whatever they were claiming that was being used.
White
phosphorus.
Oh my god, that narrative has like been debunked like 15 times, and they're still pushing it. We could have used anything if we really wanted to. We could just put everybody to sleep. They'll sleep for a good hour and a half, 2 hours. They're not doing that. And they keep warning them, and they literally, Hamas is telling them, do not listen to the messaging. Like like we just had somebody the other day who's U.S. military. What was his name? Was it John Spencer? He's also in the wilderness right now, over there, saying how we're the most moral military in the world. We could literally do whatever we want with Gaza right now, literally, and we're not. I mean, we could use much heavier armament. So, and even if you look at the casualties, how many bombs did we send, and the casualties are very low. compared to what it could be. So that's another very key point that was discussed.
It's been multiple days, and the casualties are about equivalent. What Hamas did in a couple of hours, you've seen what's there. And I think the most funniest report I've seen recently was, some propaganda piece put out. Well, it wasn't Hamas; they had pure instructions. Whether you believe or disagree with, the maps and the instructions that are found, they said, but when the perimeters were breached, it was just regular Palestinians who did the raping and pillaging. So what is that even like? You can't if that's your propaganda defense for
That's
what
worse.
occurred.
That's worse.
That's even worse. You know.
Yeah. You want to go to hand stealth, or you want to continue?
Yeah, let's go to hands real quick. Let's
Okay,
go
Rafi.
to. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, hey, how is everyone today? It's just like annoying that everyone's telling us how much people we could do. When America, I heard it already, but I just want to say when America went to Iraq or to Afghanistan, did everyone say, oh, proportion? It's annoying. But sorry guys. Um, Monica, I said, I also, Stealth and everybody, uh, President, I'm very sorry. Then give me a minute, okay? I'll come back.
Go ahead and I think there's BJDI.
I have a couple other pieces of news that crossed here. Israeli military saying that it has carried out localized raids in Gaza over the past 24 hours. And then infantry and tank units took part in Gaza raids aimed at locating rocket crews and indications on hostage locations, kind of as you were just speaking to there.
So that's the first. That's the
Uh,
first
there's
proof
another
that.
update.
Sorry, go ahead.
Join us today at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for an important event to support Israel and families impacted by the recent terrorism and abductions. Ambassadors from around the world will be present ahead of the Security Council meeting. For far too long, the UN has overlooked Hamas terror and their work to embed terror. So I guess they're going to be live from the UN soon.
So Chet, that announcement you just made, that breaking news you just made, seems to be, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, the first confirmation of armor going into Gaza.
Correct, sir. That's what I was hearing there too. Was that's pretty much them saying they've got actual, as Stealth was saying, they might have had some people covertly on the ground. Where they're saying it now, basically unclassified. They do have localized crews on the ground, actually doing some specific units doing things. So,
Yeah,
but
at
it's
least
infantry
raids. At
and
least
tanks.
raids.
So there
Yeah.
are some tanks going in there too, at least. So that means it's already tanks and infantry going to Gaza. This means we're expecting this to basically increase a lot more in the amount of people as far as the reservists that start going in and active on the ground there in Israel.
Right, because prior to this, the only thing we had sort of indirect, not even direct, but indirect confirmation of was that special units had, special forces units had operated there, because we know that they captured the deputy Hamas deputy naval commander or whatever title he has, which we assumed they captured him from Gaza, on probably
Exactly.
on a special forces raid. But that was indirect. They never said we captured him from Gaza. It was just assumed that he wasn't hanging out in Beersheba. Um, and now we have the first on the record confirmation that they've at least done a raid with armor and infantry into Gaza to, I guess, locate these rocket crews.
Yes, which is good news to know at least that they're in there too. And like we said, we knew they're looking for the hostages. Of course they are, and hopefully they will find them. We have another thing now coming out from the Israeli military. Just crossed my wires, saying that one of its drones is striking Hezbollah targets right now in Lebanon.
Look, the net of it is you have a tremendous amount of money and foundational recruitment across many countries to make a political party stand, because there is a right now what a global agenda for jihad is the alleged word, but there's a lot of payoff for a lot of people to cause instability in the Middle East, and to cause these small wars. Remember, during Trump, it was a little too quiet for too many, and they weren't making enough money. So right now, every warlord is salivating at the thought of what they're selling and what they can make, plus the instability with oil, right? So there's going to be, we're going to go to 120 a barrel, Prodigal, by the time we're done. Where are we at now, Prodigal, in terms of the price per barrel?
To be honest with you, I haven't even checked this morning. I do know that, well, you probably said earlier what Cotter made the reference. I
We
mean,
are currently at $86.58 on the dot there for U.S. oil for futures right now.
It's actually not bad.
It's spiraling a bit because if you look in Jordan, I know now they're putting down the mass protests. There's been clashes. I mean, and people want to forget this, but we said it earlier. They killed the current king's grandfather. Yasser Arafat tried to overthrow his father, and a lot of these countries, even though they don't want to be involved in it, are in a catch-22. And these are not nations that even if Israel fall or even if this was resolved, they're going to come back into our orbit. Like, this is very bad for the U.S. geopolitically. Anybody who says otherwise, then they really don't give a shit about the U.S. And that's really my main concern. But I'm going to head out. I just wanted to come in, show some
Thank
support.
you. I
And
appreciate it. Tell us,
Thank you,
come back,
Thank you,
Prodigal.
come back
Prodigal.
with
Thank you,
wilderness
Prodigal.
reports,
It's always good to see
Prodigal.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
It's always good to see you.
Yes.
And by the way,
Hey,
King Hussein, just on finishing off that point of Prodigal, King Hussein, I believe, killed 20,000 Palestinians when they. I could be wrong about that. When they rebelled against him, the current king's
Maybe
father.
Noam or Avi knows.
Well,
Exactly like that. They put them against the fence and shoot them. More than
Angela.
20,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. I have a quick question. While I was sleeping, before I went to bed, there was a stabbing in China, and I heard someone say there was another one in
Yes.
France. Can you guys
Correct.
just catch
yeah.
me up on that real fast
Correct. So
before?
the one in China was at the Israeli embassy. The one in France was um, at a high school
At a
there where there
school.
was a teacher that got stabbed and two other individuals also got stabbed. I don't know if they were school staff or what, but there was a teacher that was stabbed to death. And the person who did the stabbing was shouting Allahu Akbar. He had been a Chechen migrant into France, but obviously connected to the broader day of jihadi day of rage that Hamas had called for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do
Everyone
I have a
stay.
list of names of who I need to bring up? Because there's some people in the audience that I think maybe had been invited. So I just want to, somebody wants to, Noam, do you know what handle I'm looking for somebody that you invited?
he's not here yet. I'm talking to him.
Okay.
I'll
Okay,
let you
thanks.
know.
Just real quick, we mentioned the Reuters journalist that was killed from Israeli shelling in Lebanon. They just posted a picture of him, so obviously he's gonna be part of the new martyr propaganda used against Israel. So brace for it; it's already happening.
Okay, Michael's here. I need to get
So,
Michael a speaker. So give me 1 second. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring him up too.
Hold on. I'm moving things around. I'll bring Red back. 1 second. Let me just do this.
We got him up.
Hold on.
He's up now.
Rod, is your mic working? Because I don't see a.
No, Rod is a
Oh,
listener, I
okay. So
think.
let me move it. Okay. Does he?
Hello, Michael. How are you doing?
Should
It's
I
good to
bring
see you
Rod
again.
back up?
Everyone, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Michael, is
Yeah,
Doctor already coming?
Dr. Cohen is here, by the way.
Oh, okay. Where is he?
No, I don't know. You guys need to, maybe follow him or something, who needs to follow you so you can see him.
If he sends a request, I should be able to see him right away. Let me take a look.
Dr. Cohen, can you please send a request? Dr. Cohen is one of the top Eastern people. He knows exactly what's going on right now in Jordan, in Gaza, in Lebanon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see his request. I'm just perusing.
What does his PFP look like?
What does the picture look like?
I'll send you his once again. I'll send
Here it
it
is.
in the back channel.
Yeah.
Sel,
I found him.
before everybody talk, I just want to say one really quick thing, and I'm going to go to a listener because I'm
Go for
doing
it.
kiddush. So I keep hearing this phrase again: the most moral army in the world. There is no such thing. This phrase have to disappear. Okay, there was a competition that been invented by the word that Israel is the only one that participates in this competition. There's no such thing most moral army in the world. Okay, this is not army is what bid for. So I keep listening to this. The most moral. Israel do care about
Screw
life.
that, moral.
The
Screw that.
One second, Michael. People, listen. Israel, Jewish people worship life. Nobody. They're trying to eliminate people to get hurt, innocent people to get hurt. This is everybody know that, but there's no such competition of thing that's called the most moral, army in the world. Okay, so people have to understand it. The only army that ever participated with it is IDF. So there's no such thing. So Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to listen to Eddie. I love him very
Shabbat
much. Have a
Shabbat
shalom.
good
shalom.
day.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Ophir,
shalom.
one thing.
Stealth,
Just one thing. Moral army comes back with the body bags. That's what I have to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
Michael. I have
Stealth, please look at the
yeah, I
DMs.
have Eddie Cohen here. Good morning. Or actually for you if you're in Israel, it's
Shalom,
Shabbat
shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom u'mevorach.
Dr. Cohen, would you mind to expand a little bit in Gaza, in Lebanon? What do you hear from there? You have a huge amount of
Yes.
followers. They're telling you a lot of things. Would you mind,
Well,
please?
yes. I have another account, Twitter in Arabic. I have more than 600,000 followers, a lot of followers, and I speak daily with people from Gaza, from Syria, from all the whole Arab world. What I hear today, that the Hamas decided to sacrifice the people of Gaza. Hamas don't them care about them. Now what's happened these late hours, the IDF sent messages to those who live in the north of Gaza, and what Hamas published and tell his people, don't go, stay at your house. That means you have to be killed in the house. Don't go out. So Hamas, unlike Hezbollah, he wants to sacrifice all the people of Gaza. More dead there are in Gaza, more it's convenient for Hamas. That's why he want to ask for humanitarian help, etc., and he got money, etc. What Hamas did last Saturday, this was no doubt a planified operation. Is at least 1 year they planified this operation. Hamas couldn't do this itself without the help of Iran. We saw the logistics, we saw everything. So Iran has a plan, has a secret plan. If there are some people from Iran, they know what I mean. Khomeini, Ayatollah al-Khomeini, the last leader of Iran before Khamenei, has a secret plan. This secret plan is to conquer, to occupy all the Arab lands. And they occupied Lebanon, they occupied, not necessarily Iran, not necessarily with their revolutionary arm. He can occupy as Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hashd al-Shabi in Iraq, in Yemen they have teeth.
Are
You
we
might be
hearing him
getting a
or?
phone call. He's cutting
No,
out a
we
little bit.
don't. No, we don't. You had a problem with the network. It's not in Israel.
Yes.
Eddie,
The
can
Khomeini's plan is
you
to
make your position better? We don't hear you very
yes,
well.
I had a phone call. The Khomeini's plan is to occupy Saudi Arabia and also Israel. Why? Because they want to control the holy places of the Islam. When you control the holy places, you control the people. They want to control Mecca, Medina, and they want to control the Al-Aqsa. This is the Khomeini's plan. It's written, it's published. Everyone knows that. But unfortunately, the West doesn't do anything regarding this. If you have a question, bivakasha.
Okay, the narrative, Eddie, that is being discussed in some other large Twitter spaces, which is very anti-Semitic in general, is that the Israelis are not really looking for the hostages at this point. That it's just a virtuous signaling, and that's not what the priority is. And obviously, that is opposite, a 150% opposite, because we could have done so much more since we started bombing in Gaza, and we could be just. Can you just expound on the capabilities of the Israeli army to go in if we weren't actually looking for hostages?
Well, if you want to make a war against Arab countries or Islam or Muslims, you have to know the mentality of Muslims, of Islam in the society. For example, it's the Friday day is the day that everyone go to mosque. After the mosque, they make a manifestation and they come to make terrorist activities. So that's why I think they didn't enter Gaza. They waited after Friday. So maybe tonight or tomorrow, the Israel army will enter Gaza. Did you understand the point?
100%.
Did I explain it well?
Yes.
It's just a speculation. You have to say that. It's just a speculation.
Of course, I don't work with the government. I don't work with the army. I'm an independent
analyst,
researcher.
yeah.
So analyst. I don't have information. How we say secret information.
Inside information.
Strategic information. He doesn't have
Official.
strategic information.
Yeah.
Yes. It's analytic. Okay. Questions? You have any questions?
Did you guys talk about that a few units from IDF went inside Gaza and brought information about the missing person?
No, we did not.
You know that?
Cover it. I didn't cover it yet.
Yeah,
I just came.
That's the headline. Right? That's the
Actually,
headline.
we did.
Right now.
We did
Oh, yeah?
break that news. Yes, before stuff got
Okay,
on.
so which units went in to gather information about?
Oh, come on.
So I'll say it clearly. IDF went in and tried to gather some information. That's the best you'll get from us. Okay.
Permit me to say something. Maybe this also is disinformation. We can never know. We don't know.
This is directly from the IDF, so.
No,
But
actually,
it's an IDF spokesman that said that.
It doesn't matter, my dear. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm surprised. Why? What the purpose of this the statement? What the purpose?
Okay, I will tell you. Like they said yesterday or day before that they're going to release a mom with their 2 children. Okay, and it was false. So listen, it's not only a war with guns; it's also a war inside ahead of each other. Okay, it's a warfare. It's a psychological. Come on, you know that better than I do. You need to play with your enemy's head. You know that better.
Information war. It's an information war also. Yeah.
In addition to that, they may be moving hostages. Okay. So when you start moving hostages, you can gain information when people start communicating. If they think there's a secret ground troops looking for hostages, they may start moving them. And when you move them, you give an opportunity for us to catch them and to get them back. So I mean, you have to look at the tactics of the Russians. You have to look at the tactics of the Qatarians and the Iranians. All 3 of those countries in general work off of misinformation, right? So we're going to have to, obviously it's war. You have to say certain things to.
There's a simple sentence: if you can't beat them in the information war, join them and do the disinformation. So basically, it doesn't matter if we were inside or outside. We were inside, you know that. But however, if there is other question, Eddie Cohen is a really geopolitical analyst. If there
Eddie,
are
how are you
any
doing?
questions,
Eddie, Shabbat Shalom, מה שלומך?
Shabbat Shalom, hello.
מה שלומך? התגעגעתי אליך, Eddie. Eddie, all right. People don't know, but Eddie is from Lebanon. And right now, things are getting heater up in Lebanon. Can you tell us, Eddie, what you think that's gonna be happening soon? In what you think in Lebanon right now? What's happening
Yes,
in Lebanon right now?
yes. I have to say I'm a native Lebanon from the Jewish community of Lebanon. I was born in Lebanon, but I'm Jewish, native Lebanon. I think it's only all analytics. I think Hezbollah won't or wanted to help Hamas and to shell Israel, but he had a strong, big איומים. How is it איומים?
Threats.
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 Threats from the United States. That's why he will not. He will not open the war. But Hezbollah has. It's not unlike Hamas. Hezbollah has a lot to lose because 50% or 60% of the politics in Lebanon don't want. But Lebanon, it's not Hezbollah. I said it in the other space. Hezbollah in Lebanon, there are Sunnis, Maronite, Christians, Armenian, all these people, Samir Jaja, Nadim Ismail, all these Lebanese politicians, they wrote, they, not only they say it, they tweeted, they don't want, they said, this is not my war. They said, we are sympathized with the Palestinians' cause, etc. We love Palestinians, but it's not our war. Lebanon has been destroyed many times, and we don't want to get hurt. So Hezbollah has a lot of pressure from the American and from his own people, from the Lebanese. But he cannot. He always said that I will help the Hamas. So he will try to how we say it, limited shelling or logistic things, but limited. I don't think he will dare to open a real war against Israel. I don't think. But that doesn't mean that he will not he will not send some, limited activities.
Yeah, it's very strange. I think also that Lebanon, Hezbollah will not interfere because, listen, Lebanon is in ruins. Okay, they don't have any economy, they don't have anything. They have maybe 3 hours a day electricity. Now, if Israel will start attack over there, everyone will go to Dahia, where the Nasrallah is, where Hezbollah, and start, the war over there. They're going to kill him. So I don't know, but they're giving permissions to other groups, small groups, to send rockets to Israel, to fire rockets on Israel. And I don't think they're going to interfere. I really don't, but we all thought that Hamas is afraid of Israel, and we all mistaken.
There's
Not
also
all of, what about Hamas. I've never said that Hamas was afraid from. If you read the charter in Arabic,
I did.
okay, you did. If you read the charter of Hamas, Hamas wants to eliminate Israel. They said it. They say it every day. They say that we want to be killed. How we say kapara for Al-Aqsa. They
like
say.
atonement for sacrifice for Al-Aqsa. Yeah.
They say it every day. They say it. And now also, don't think that the Hamas will surrender. Don't think that the Hamas will say, okay, let's make a ceasefire. No. Adasov, until the end. Saddam Hussein, the Americans offered him millions of dollars. They offered him, take all your money, take all your gold, take your family and go to Moscow, to I don't know where, to Venezuela. He said no. He went to inside the
bunkers. His bunker.
The floor. Yes. Why? Because this is the Arabic mentality that they will not. They are proud. They are too proud to surrender. They are how we say it? They are willing to sacrifice 2 million Gaza's
people's
people.
lives.
yes,
for their
people
pride.
have, in order, they are ready to do it. So they will not surrender.
Well, I mean,
Good,
I
good,
wouldn't go too far.
wonderful. We don't
In
want them to surrender. We don't want them to surrender. We want blood.
Well, let me,
We want them.
Michael.
We want them ruined.
I
Yeah,
think that
please.
we if we can get all the kidnapped people and the bodies of the kidnapped people, we can arrange some arrangements. And I think that there's something we should focus on first. Everything after that, listen, the only people that are really in power are sitting in Qatar right now. So there has to be a deal between Israel, America, and Qatar to release those guys. The,
and
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 Turkey.
Turkey also
Yeah.
Saleh.
So
Yeah.
Let's speak about Qatar now.
please.
You have in Qatar, you have 5 kilometers from Doha, maybe more, the biggest American base in the Middle East, who died. Have hundreds of planes. You have thousands of American Marines in Qatar. So if the Americans want to really help Israel, they have to shoot or kidnap Ismail Haniya, who is still in Qatar. So the American must help us with this. So you have to know that the Americans are in Qatar. Qataris, I'm seeing the Al Jazeera in front of me. It's Hamas. Al Jazeera, it's Hamas. It is
Yes.
Hamas. They are pro Hamas.
Hamas TV. Hamas TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they are pro Hamas. How can Qataris cannot be a fair player or a fair mediator? They cannot be a fair mediator. Also, the Turkish, they cannot because they are Muslims. We have to have, if we should one day make negotiation with Hamas, indirect negotiation, we should have, Israelis must demand a neutral country, not Muslim country, because Muslims are with Muslims.
Eddie, I think you misunderstood. There will be no talks with Hamas. There will be no negotiation with Hamas. Hamas is dead.
Yes,
I
but
don't
they
talk
said,
about the idea. I'm talking about the terror organization. They are dead or they will die. There's no one to talk to. You
this
want to
is the
talk to
point
them?
of view.
Make a
I don't want
seance. Make a science. You know a seance? Make a seance. Maybe
yes,
you can talk to them. But
yes,
they are
but
all dead.
Okay.
They
yes,
will
Steve,
die, every one
someone
of them.
So
someone speak about negotiation. Steve, no? So I'm answering to Steve. It's not. I'm not offering such thing. It's
No, she was Eddie.
no, no,
Eddie.
no.
She was saying about maybe
No, what I
hostage
want is every
negotiation or something like
hostage
that.
and the body of every hostage back. Every single one. Everything, like an arm, a finger. I want every single piece of every single Jewish person, or even if they have non-Jewish people that they've kidnapped, I want every single person back. And then we can talk about
so
whether or not,
okay.
they'll.
You cannot have them unless you destroyed and you killed every Hamas. So it's like the movie. It's like the movie. You American people that I see in the movies. They are hostages in Khalila. I hope not. They will kill him. They will kill everybody before the IDF will take them. This is nightmare. I don't wish it, but this is the scenario that I see.
Sadly, Stealth, I think I agree with Eddie and Michael on that sense, since
I'm a
the
woman.
kid,
I'm a woman. I'm a little different. So with
I know,
women, yeah.
I know. I agree with you completely. That should be one of the it is one of the goals, right? But the question is whether when to do it. That's the question. So basically, I think both Michael, Eddie, and I think Avi as well, are saying that it won't happen until we reach our most important goals right now. So there is no one to negotiate with. That's the main thing. And I agree with Eddie that Qatar or Turkish guys, you cannot negotiate with them, because if you look at our history of negotiation with Turkey, And I don't know if there was any negotiation with Qatar unless for giving suitcases of money to Hamas, if you're calling that a negotiation, but there is no negotiation here. Basically, Qatar is the wallet, right?
Okay, so my,
So
my question on Qatar, Eddie, if there's any, if we have any Mossad or any special forces on the ground to remove any leadership from Qatar, actually to remove them ourselves, okay, take them and have them, you know, basically say, okay, we've decided that we're going to stop this. We want to have peace talks. We want to release all the kidnapped people. You don't think if we have them, if we actually have them in our hands, whether it's the U.S. or Israel or a third party that has them in their hands, that we could have them do that? Because right now, what kind of level of communication is going on between those on the ground and those in Qatar? Is there, I mean, who is operationally running Gaza right now after we've eliminated so many of the key leadership positions? I guess that is my question. Who's calling the strings? Now, I can understand that there's bonuses that are going to be paid from the IRGC, maybe from Qatar, maybe from other entities to have them keep going like this. And it could be multiple countries that are paying bonuses to certain individuals. And even the people on the ground, the alleged ones that were the kidnappers, these trained, I don't know how many left of the trained people, but let's say there's a few leaders from the trained group that did the insurgency. Are they who are operationally controlling Gaza right now, and any type of communication? Because I have seen that Israel was on the phone with Palestinian reporters, and they didn't even know who was calling them. And they were saying to them, listen, if you are near anybody that's Hamas or you're near any of the kidnapped people, I don't know if you guys saw that audio, like, you need to notify us. And they're like, well, no, I'm only here with children. I'm only here with children. That's somebody. Did we lose Eddie? We lost Eddie. We lost him. Can
yeah, I
let's
think
go
it's
get him.
an internet
Yeah, let's
connection.
get him back. My question is this: who is operationally on the ground?
He's gonna have some connection issues up there. Sorry, go on, Stealth.
Maybe he should come in his Arabic account.
He's in Lebanon, so unfortunately, just the internet
No,
there
no, I know. I'm
just
saying
that's
I
happens all
wish
the
he would come
time.
in through his.
No, he's not in
No, he's
Lebanon.
not
No,
in
no,
Lebanon.
you don't want him to you don't want him to
No,
come
no,
in with his
he's
domestic
he was
account
born.
because it's coming after him a lot of people that you won't
Oh,
want in
okay,
the
got it,
space.
got it. Yeah.
Trust me
Okay,
about that.
okay.
He's not in Lebanon. He was born in Lebanon. He's in Israel or
Okay,
generally.
No,
my
he's
Yeah,
bad.
he's a
abroad right
Jew.
now.
He's a Jew. He's from the Jew
I
community.
took sorry.
He was born in Lebanon and he's come to Israel when he was 19 or 21 years old.
He would not be
Uh,
safe talking that way in Lebanon. He would not be.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
took what Michael said to me in the DMs a little bit differently. Sorry, my bad.
Keep a secret.
He's talking. He was speaking to us straight from Nasrallah's bunker. You know.
Okay, I just want to do a little bit of hygiene in the space. So we bring Eddie up. We don't talk about locations of assets or people or negotiators or anything at all, and we don't give out any operational
Hey,
advantage. Yes.
Stell, I'm sorry. We have Robert
Okay,
Spencer.
great.
If you could please bring
Where
him
is
up,
he?
and then he's down in the
Okay, has he
audience.
requested?
All right, let me see if I can find him. Hold on a second.
Real
He
quick,
doesn't have.
in about 14 minutes, the UN is going live with the ambassadors. I don't know if you guys want to stream that.
No, I don't care right now. No. Right now we have.
It's
Robert, if
regarding.
you can,
Thank you, but no thank you.
Robert, if you can hear us, you want to hit the bottom
I
left
found
button
him.
of
I
your
found him.
screen.
I found him. I
Okay.
found him.
Okay.
I've
Good.
sent him an invite. You should see an invite, Robert. If you see that,
Can
just hit the little
you,
green button and
can
you
you
should
just
get him.
introduce Robert?
There's nothing that
Robert?
can come out of the UN that's useful.
Ah,
It is it's a failed organization, so terrorist organization.
And stuff. Can we talk him through it? He's never used
Oh,
Spaces
sure.
before, so I just want
So
getting it. Thank you so much.
so Robert, you're gonna hit request, and then we'll send.
He's up
Okay,
here now. I
great,
got him.
wonderful.
He's
There we
connected.
go.
Hello, Robert. It's good to see you. Can you have to hit the microphone button as well to
Yeah, I
unmute.
think he is.
There you go.
Hi. Good morning.
Can hear you now, yes.
Hi.
Okay. Good
So,
morning.
Robert, we have you and Eddie Cohen, an analyst from Israel as well. Let me can we grab Eddie? I see his.
Yes, I tried to grab him too.
Okay.
Should we get Robert to introduce himself,
Please,
like
yes.
his background, what he's
Go
done?
ahead, Robert, if you have a second.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Sorry about not knowing how to do this. I haven't done one of these. Anyway, I am director of Jihad Watch. I'm author of many books on jihad, including The Palestinian Delusion, The Catastrophic History of the Middle East Peace Process, where you would find everything that is happening now all explained.
Robert, I've read your stuff for years. I think probably a few people on the space have as well. We really appreciate you coming in this morning.
Thank you. Sure. So how does this work?
You can either give us a brief
You have the
soliloquy
floor.
and an analysis of where we're at right now, or some of us, like myself, will ask you some questions in terms of strategy.
Okay, I'm happy to take questions. I'll just say briefly right at the beginning that this is a religious war. It's not primarily over land or occupation or settlements or electricity and water or anything that you are hearing. It is a religious conflict that is based on Islamic principles. The Islamic principle in question in particular is chapter 2, verse 191 of the Quran, which says, drive them out from where they drove you out. Now, the Israelis did not drive out the Palestinian Arabs. That is a historical myth. The Arab Higher Committee actually told them to leave the area in 1948 because the idea was that the surrounding Muslim Arab countries were going to destroy Israel, and they didn't want the Arabs in the area in the line of fire, so they told them to leave, assuming they'd be able to come back within weeks. That did not work out for them, but in any case, the mythology is that the Israelis drove the Palestinians out, and consequently, it is a divine command, as live for a believing Muslim as the Ten Commandments are for a believing Jew or Christian, that it is their responsibility before the God of the universe to drive them out, the Israelis. And this is what happened last Saturday was one step in that direction. But there will never be a negotiated settlement or peace or anything that the Washington policymakers assume they can bring about with the right mixture of Israeli concessions, because no agreement will ever nullify the religious imperative.
Robert, since you do Jihad Watch and you watch this all over the world, I was wondering if you were able to shed some light on that and the Day of Rage.
The Day of Rage does appear to have been real. Primarily, we're seeing a lot of demonstrations. There have been of course demonstrations at the universities, which are controlled by the radical left and thus completely hospitable to Hamas and the Palestinian Jihad. Open calls for intifada at the University of Washington and one other there was, let's see, you probably have this information, UCLA. And in France, it's not known if it was related, but a Chechen Muslim migrant screaming Allahu Akbar murdered a teacher and injured several others in a knife attack at a school. Now, Allahu Akbar, of course, is something that we hear a lot lately. It was screamed quite often on Saturday as Hamas was attacking. It's important to remember that it does not, as it is commonly translated, Allah is great or God is great in the Western press. That's not actually what it means. It means Allah is greater. And greater, the idea is that Allah is greater than your God. And it's a declaration of supremacy and superiority that is particularly shouted at a time of warfare and violence. Muhammad Atta, the 9/11 hijacker, said he wrote himself a letter that survived the attack. And he said in it, be sure to shout Allahu Akbar as you're beginning the operation on the plane, because this strikes terror in the unbelievers. And actually, it is another command of Islam, according to the Quran, chapter 8, verse 60, to strike terror in the enemies of Allah. And so the idea on Saturday, of course, was to terrorize the Israelis into thinking it's no use, we can't stay, we can't live in this land, we have to leave. They're going to keep on killing civilians and so on. And the idea really all over is to terrorize people, frighten them into submission. So that is France. Then there was the stabbing of an Israeli diplomat in a mysterious incident in Beijing. And we haven't heard anything about who was the stabber or what that was all about, but it did take place today. And this is the day that Khalid Mashal, the former chief of Hamas, has called for a global day of jihad. So it's likely that there will be more of the same as the day goes on.
So apparently, we heard that he was Pakistani ISIS.
Oh, the guy in China?
The guy in China, correct.
Oh, thank you. I haven't seen that.
Yes. And then really fast for our listeners, if you could explain how this jihad has risen around the world, if you have time, over the last couple decades. I think a lot of us would really appreciate that because it's misconstrued, if that's okay.
Really quickly,
Very much.
if I can target Robert for a second, can you tell us since the Obama years, this is what I want to focus on, because the 8 years under Obama and now these 2 years under Biden, just the way that how things have been. Things just go on fire during these two administrations, and we've seen it based on their foreign policy. Maybe we could just focus on that more targeted, because we can see that in stark comparison to the 4 years of what we had during COVID, let's say, with Trump. But right now, most of us who knew what happened during the 8 years of the Obama administration were literally waiting to see what was going to happen now. We saw the failed Afghanistan pullout, and then we saw the backdoor deals going on with the IRGC regarding, the failed nuclear deal, and then the $6.5 billion, and then this basically spies, Robert Malley, like all this led up to where we're at right now. Is it just a failed foreign policy with the Middle East since those years? I think it might make it more focused.
It's very much a failed foreign policy, and certainly Obama and Biden, or whoever's running Biden, which may of course be Obama, they are the foremost exponents of it, but it is older than they are. The idea is that this is a dispute over land. It's an interesting thing to note that while, I came in and said to you that this was all about Islam and jihad. The fact is that if you read the communiques of Fatah and Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and so on, you'll see that it's all about jihad and Islam. But that is the one thing that you will see lacking in every last analysis of this conflict from establishment foreign policy analysts and Washington policymakers. And the mistakes, or the willful ignorance, the blindness, the favoring of terrorism that we saw really accelerate during the Obama years, it starts long before that. And really, you can date it back to Jimmy Carter and the Camp David Accords. And in the Palestinian Delusion, I've got an account of how the Camp David Accords were stacked against the Israelis. People think of it as this wonderful triumph of diplomacy and of compromise and of a far-seeing willingness to admit the humanity of the enemy and to sit down and negotiate. In Jerusalem, there's the Sadat Begin Center honoring the president of Egypt and the prime minister of Israel at the time. But if you read the actual accounts of the Camp David Accords, you see that it was 2 against 1, that Jimmy Carter loved Sadat, admired Sadat, thought Sadat was a great man, and he had little regard, if any, for Menachem Begin and for Israel. And he actually told Sadat that he was there to help him attain all his goals. Now, people might not realize the implications of that because they might not understand how insidious Sadat's goals were, since we've all been told for decades now that Sadat was heroic and groundbreaking and far-seeing and generous and loving. Actually, what happened was this. Sadat tried to extend the war against Israel that Nasser, his predecessor as president of Egypt, had pursued. Nasser had started the Six-Day War in 1967. And in 1973, Sadat started the Yom Kippur War. And both of them, of course, lost ignominiously. Sadat was, at that time, Egypt was a client of the Soviet Union. And Sadat was furiously calling Moscow during the Yom Kippur War and asking for help, and even calling for the Soviets to send Soviet troops to fight alongside the Egyptians against Israel. And Leonid Brezhnev, the premier of the Soviet Union at the time, he was disgusted by this failure. And he actually said in a Politburo meeting, surprising everyone there, that he was going to have the Soviets make an accord with Israel, and that he was tired of Sadat bothering him and calling him in the middle of the night and so on. And that the future lay in negotiations, in détente, in having talks where the other side would be eager to make concessions. Okay? So Sadat saw the writing on the wall, and he realized that if that's the game that had to be played, he would play it better than everybody else. And he saw that he could get a better deal from the Americans than from the Soviets. And so he actually took Egypt out of the Soviet orbit. And that was at a time, if anybody here is old enough to remember, this is the time he started to be hailed in the Western press as a great hero. And he even made overtures to Israel and was hailed as a great peacemaker. But all he really wanted to do was get Israel out of Sinai, which it had occupied for its own national security after the 67 war, and to get other concessions from the Israelis. And it worked wonderfully because Jimmy Carter had stars in his eyes and thought this was some great world historical figure, and was quite rude and peremptory with Menachem Begin, the prime minister of Israel. So that set a pattern that continued with the Oslo Accords, with the roadmap to peace, on through the Obama and Biden regime, that we have the assumption, the bedrock, immovable assumption in Washington that this is a dispute that can be solved with negotiations, that this is all about land, that Israel is illegitimately occupying land, and that concessions have to be pressed out of Israel that will bring peace. In the meantime, working on the same kind of assumptions, you have Robert Malley, who was actually dismissed from the Obama administration for being too pro-Hamas, too openly pro-Hamas, really. And then he was later reinstated. And others working to make the same kind of accord with Iran, based on the assumption that it was really all our fault, that there's tension between the US and Iran, and if we make a few concessions to the mullahs, we'll pacify that situation. And now in the Biden regime, this has all come together. And we have the $6 billion going to Iran that likely was what the Iranians had in mind as bankrolling this. Now we hear it may get stopped. It may be too late. We don't know. But certainly they thought they were getting it, and they had every reason to think that. And so it may have bankrolled this whole thing. Also, right the day before, on Friday, October 6th, the Biden regime under the table gave $75 million to the Palestinians. And it's always trying to win allies by giving aid. But this does not take into account the fact that from the Islamic standpoint, which is, as I said, the standpoint that the Washington policymakers never consider, from the Islamic standpoint, if a non-Muslim comes to them and he wants to give them money or help them out in other ways, they're happy to take it. But they only just despise the giver. They don't respect the giver. They don't think this is somebody we should work with and become partners with. They think this is a foolish, idiotic infidel who doesn't realize that he's cutting his own throat, and we're going to take full advantage. And so Iran has taken full advantage, and the Palestinians have taken full advantage, and they will continue to do so.
So, Robert, I saw your interview on Patrick Bet-David's podcast. Actually, one of the people that was speaking on there with you, I don't want to mention the name, from the other side, sent a death threat to me on Twitter, like very prominently.
Oh, that's
And I'm
interesting.
like,
You should publicize that. Give us the screenshot, because those guys are widely admired, and it's important for people to know what they're really all about.
right. So, I wanted to know what your thoughts. So it's very interesting. We've seen that the ground game and the training of some of the talking heads, like some of those gentlemen who are very well trained, you can tell by in their communication style, and also the ground game across the U.S. in terms of the infrastructure of the current Hamas protests, or the alleged, Palestinian protests that they're saying, along with all over the world. The level of organization, the funding, the preparedness, the phone trees, I call them, right? Like moms, we think of phone trees. Everything from their communication, everything is it's almost like three full-time jobs put into one, and yet you have alleged students running these things, which is just impossible. That infrastructure, we just lack it in terms of the American right in general, in terms of counter narratives in schools and in universities, and also, I mean, I hate to say this, but there's a ninja-esque aspect to what they do, right? We are not doing that on the right, in any way, shape, or form, whether it's narratives online, social media influencers, the reach and scope of what they're doing. And they're using NLP. I'm sorry to say this, but they are using neurolinguistic programming at the highest level, and they're using it on a very young people. And unless you're some expert on NLP, or you're neuro actually divergent, the neurodivergent are hard to NLP, is what I've seen. But other than that, we are ill prepared for what's coming, and we've had since September 11th to prepare for this stuff in America. And you've seen it during the BLM and the Summers of Love and all that. That infrastructure that's built there, it's almost like that infrastructure is built on top of the current infrastructure you're seeing all over the world right now in terms of this day of global jihad and everything like that. Just wanted you to pontificate on that for me. Thanks.
Yeah, well, look, the whole idea of responding to the jihad attack on 9/11 went wrong right from the beginning, when George W. Bush said Islam is peace at the mosque in front of two terror supporters on September 17th, 2001. But you're absolutely right. The guys like those guys on the podcast, they are directed toward trying to bring young Americans into the fold of Islam. And a guy like Patrick Bet-David has no idea the game that's being played. And you saw what happened, that they say, yes, we want to kill people who leave Islam. So they're talking about open coercion and bloodlust. And instead of being repulsed by that, Patrick Bet-David says, we want to build bridges.
Yeah, he leaned in. So sometimes I wonder, is it good that Patrick gave them such a big platform? I didn't know who those guys were ever before. I knew who you were. But when you create sometimes these platforms, they go viral, right? And I like Patrick Bet-David, but you can see that the way that was positioned. I don't know if there's a naivety. Maybe there's a naivety, and of some of these large podcasters, of who they're.
Well, I'll tell you what it is on the right. On the left, it's another story, and we can discuss that. But on the right, it was clear that Patrick Bet-David was disgusted with the left's social agenda, with the left's depraved cultural agenda that's being forced upon us, with all this trans business and the LGBTQ idolatry, the celebration of it everywhere. It's one thing to tolerate something, and it's another thing to act like these people are heroes. And constantly now, it started that there was tolerance, and then there was a month, and now it's practically the whole year is celebrate gay this or gay that. And Patrick Bet-David and many other people on the right, they're tired of this, and they see Islam as a viable alternative. And I think Andrew Tate, the kickboxer, the pimp, whatever he is, he has been the pioneer of this to a tremendous degree by converting to Islam. And so Patrick Bet-David didn't want to hear anything negative about Islam. He wanted to find some way that we could all work together to counter the left's insidious and insane social agenda. Now,
That's
that's
such a
understandable.
good point. That's such a good point. They view it. Some people on the right, Cernovich, I see as well. Other people, they view it as and understandably on those aspects as a countercultural, it's a counterweight to the cultural depravity we're seeing now. And they say, okay, listen, I don't agree with Islam and blah blah blah, but compared to this shit, basically is the thinking. It's not that bad. They're wrong,
Yeah.
but that's the thinking.
Well, see, that's the thing. They're not equipped. They don't know anything about it, and so they don't know how to evaluate it when they are talking to these very smooth and slick liars like those guys that they had there. They don't know how they're being played. They don't realize. And this is where we've really failed since 9/11. Whereas in the mosques, these kinds of guys are being trained all the time. There has been no response like that anywhere in the United States from Jews, from Christians, from anyone, because everybody has gotten together to say Islam is really a religion of peace, and these people are twisting and hijacking it, and there are extremists in every religion, and we cannot go to the ideological roots of this issue. And meanwhile, the other side's going cheerfully to our vulnerabilities and exploiting them quite skillfully.
How, Robert, do we disrupt though the
Well,
narratives used
look,
by these groups to
before
justify
we get to
their
that, I have a
actions?
quick question, Robert.
Yeah.
There's 2.2 billion people of the Muslim faith on the planet, and what 2.12 billion Christians. Okay, it's very hard for the entire Europe, which is now I has a refugee crisis, and look at France, that's about to bubble over and erupt. Any given day, depending on how much money is put into each country to run these riots or things. So people have to tread lightly. We've gotten to the point where people have to tread lightly surely from a volume size, where you don't want to create terrorism in your own country. So people tiptoe um, over certain conversations, where most of us have worked and grown up with people of the Islamic faith, Baha'i. I've grown up and worked with every single faith, and it's never been an issue. But they've also been here for 20, 25 years. And they live a Western culture, and they're like, oh my God, thank God my parents escaped from over there. Like, any given day, it was we didn't know which dictator was going to cause war crimes on their own people, right? They much prefer here, where they have the freedom to be educated, the freedom for their daughters to be educated, the freedom for their daughters to get married to whoever they want. Like, there's a little bit lessening, and also the overall infrastructure stress by constant regime change, whether it's done from external or internal. People want stability, and they come to America, they come to Western countries for additional stability. But what happens is, at times during these refugee crises, is it brings a little bit of instability, because when people are not able to work, or they don't have the education to get integrated, and they get disenfranchised because they literally cannot afford, in their minds, to go to university, which now there's so many things offered, but that's beside the point. um, how do you balance that situation out? I mean, and the other thing about Andrew Tate, his father was in the CIA. I'm sorry to all those that believed in the QAnon concept. That was an NSA Nobel Prize winning, Emmy Prize winning, Oscar Prize winning thing, that was a racket that was run on the world. Andrew Tate's father was the CIA. I'm sorry to say, guys, there could be a longer play here with him. He may be working a very interesting counter opposition position. So sometimes when we see figures pop up out of nowhere,
Sorry, quick interruption. Silent. Can you close your mic? Silent majority.
yeah,
Silence majority. Please close your mic.
there may be a counter narrative there when it comes to Andrew Tate. So that's his mother's Christian. She's from England. His father was Christian. So uh, let's see how that plays out. Let's see how that plays out, Robert, in the long term. But there is going to be an influence of men that are disenfranchised and lost. This whole incel phenomenon, let's say, or the phenomenon around the storyline around that there's these white nationalists in America. I didn't see white nationalists having like this call for a day of jihad. I'm a Trump voter. I'm considered a white supremacist, actually, Robert, these days, based on the definition by our Department of Justice, because I voted for Trump and I'm an Orthodox Jewish woman. But I'm considered a white supremacist. So there's a perversion here of terminology that's been used in America, and I don't know who's running those reindeer games, but I've been telling people to focus on this conversion, which is, Monica, you said it best. What is the term that you used? What's happening in the prior? We saw it happening in social media here. This conversions between Christian and Muslim. What is it called? The terminology?
Oh, Chrislam.
Chrislam is the word she had used.
Yes.
This was an unusual thing for us to see because, and I saw it on the podcast, and I wanted to know, where did you see that starting, Robert? Because we always spoke of Judeo-Christian. The second I brought that up anywhere in Spaces, I had an onslaught of attack, both from, what we would consider, well, they're not, what we would consider basically, well, I don't even want to say the words. Let's just go ahead. Just, where I'm going, Robert. Just your thoughts on that.
Well, in the first place, you're right that there are a lot of Muslims in the US and in Europe who are here because they're actually escaping from Sharia, and they're glad to have done so. One of those guys, as a matter of fact, since we have brought this show up, one of those guys on that podcast is from Iran, and his family, by his own account, his parents were secular, non-practicing Muslims who left Iran. Apparently they didn't want to live. I don't know if they left before Khomeini took over or not, but in any case, certainly they clearly did not want to live in the Islamic Republic. And so they come to the United States and they're living as secular Americans, and then their son becomes a Sunni fanatic who openly endorses jihad violence and child rape and who knows what else. And so it's kind of ghastly, but unfortunately that's part of what happens when you have this multiculturalist ethos where people are told to recover their own culture and be proud of their own traditions and not to assimilate and so on. A lot of times the children of immigrants are much more interested in their home culture than the parents who fled it are. And this is a dangerous thing that, as I was saying, there's been no countering of it at all. There's Islamic proselytizing, or dawah, is a very sophisticated and multifaceted operation in the United States and in Europe, and there's no group that's trying to counter it. And so on, but there ought, and people don't even realize what's happening, and they don't realize it because they think that they don't want to appear to be religious bigots and so on, and they don't understand the larger implications that this is a political as well as a religious imperative all rolled into one, and that it's designed to inculcate support for the kind of thing that we saw on Saturday. And we see how successful that's been, with a lot of leftist college students joining in with the Muslims on various campuses and demonstrating and showing no hesitation at approving even of Hamas atrocities. This is the fruit of a long and sophisticated effort that there has been no response to, no pushback to at all so far.
I think BJ Ditcher wanted to ask you a question.
Hey, Robert. Good to talk to you. Hope you're well.
Yeah, likewise. How are you?
I'm good, man. I sent you a response yesterday, by the way. Just a quick thing. When you came to speak in Toronto a number of times, you talked about what had gone on in government, how you went from being, a respected consultant, if you will, to somebody who was, shoved aside, which, by the way, has happened to many of us in the political sphere on the conservative side as well, which is why I throw fire at all of them. But my question to you is this. I'm in a scenario now where I'm starting to get classical liberal centrists, if you will, who are starting to listen to me and on this particular topic. If let me put it this way: if Robert Spencer was king of the world with omnipotent power, and he could implement whatever government policy that we would need, or policies, or a list of 5 or 6 or 10 things that we would have to do from an American perspective to start fighting this cultural war of global jihad, what are some things you would suggest that you think might work?
Okay, I would say to the mosques in the United States and Canada, for that matter, that they would have to start instituting honest, transparent, and inspectable programs teaching people why they should reject violence, why they should reject the idea of trying to impose Islamic law, why they should reject Islamic anti-Semitism, all these things. And then CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and others would say, you are discriminating against Muslims and you should do the same thing in churches and synagogues. And that has stymied any kind of actual honest discussion about Islam and jihad and their role in all this so far. And so we have to be willing to stand up and say, well, there are 44,000 jihad attacks around the world since 9/11. How many violent attacks have there been by believing Jews or Christians citing their religious texts as their justification? And in any case, there needs to
0.
be, in other words, yeah, exactly. So there needs to be an honest public acknowledgement of the fact that this is a problem with Islam that is unique to Islam, and stop all this politically correct and fashionable moral equivalence and dismissing of the obvious facts with things like saying, well, you know, my friend Ahmed's a nice guy, or all religions have extremists, or the usual cliches. The other things that we need to do, of course, are start enforcing our own laws. It's a very simple thing, but it's not being done. For example, just recently, the trial started of the people who tried to start a jihad training camp in New Mexico. They were going to train children to go and shoot up schools in the name of Allah and Islam. And one of the ringleader is a man named Siraj ibn Wahhaj, who is the son of Siraj Wahhaj, who is one of the most prominent Islamic spokesmen in the United States. And Siraj ibn Wahhaj was reported to have a wife in Florida that he left there. He did not divorce her, and he went off with his other wife to New Mexico to start this training camp. Now, if this was known to authorities, and it obviously was, why wasn't Siraj ibn Wahhaj prosecuted? Because polygamy is, after all, illegal in the United States. He wasn't prosecuted because the authorities are not wanting to appear Islamophobic, and they are turning a blind eye to things like polygamy in the United States. Ibrahim Hooper of the Council on American Islamic Relations said some years ago that there were thousands of people in polygamous arrangements in the United States. Now, aside from the fact that polygamy is no good in itself, that it dehumanizes women, devalues women, and is consequently something that any decent individual should oppose, it is against the law in the United States, whatever you think of that. And so if Siraj ibn Wahhaj had been prosecuted for this smaller thing, he might not have been at liberty to go start a jihad training camp in New Mexico. And the point is that Sharia adherence is generally a sign of adherence to the dangerous aspects of Islam that threaten everybody else. And so if you go after the aspects of Sharia adherence that are already illegal and enforce them, you're going to end up catching a lot of jihadis. And so that's another thing that needs to be done. And there is a great deal more. Another thing we could do is adjust our foreign policy. The foreign policy that we have is still based on Cold War models, and this gets us into ridiculous situations where you have, for example, Turkey, and Turkey is openly talking about restoring the Ottoman Empire and conquering its neighbors, conquering all the land that the Ottoman Empire once occupied. And Turkey was involved with the ethnic cleansing of Nagorno-Karabakh and the forcible eviction of 120,000 Armenians from their ancestral homeland. And that's
breaking. The father of the entire family that got killed is speaking at the UN right now live. I can patch in the audio if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead and patch in.
My wife was visiting her mother at one of the kibbutzes, and I stayed home a few dozen of kilometers away from there. In 10:30, I got a phone call from my wife, scared, whispering, terrifying, saying that she's hearing gunshots and people are entering the house. I didn't want to risk her, so I told her to disconnect the phone, and that was the last call. Later on, I tried to reach her and my mother-in-law, but they were all locked down on the safe room with my two little baby girls, Raz and Aviv, which are less than 5 and 3 years old. Later on, I tried to get more information and managed to track my wife's phone, which appeared in Gaza. Later on, I saw a video, and on this video, I saw my wife, 2 daughters, got taken on a vehicle, and I recognized them for sure. I can't describe you such a moment in words, where your whole family, you watch your whole family get taken away from you. With my mother, also were her mother, my mother-in-law, and her spouse, Gadi Moses, which probably got abducted as well. My wife, who has a German citizenship, is a granddaughter to a Holocaust survivor who just passed away a few months ago, Tirza, and lived to the age of 100. I'm glad she didn't get to see a second Holocaust, and her granddaughter and 2 daughters, baby girls, getting kidnapped in a horrific event and invasion. Since Saturday, I had no sleep, no eat. I'm a father without a wife, without his baby girls. A lot of family and friends are surrounding me, but my whole world is not with me. My mother, Efrat Katz, my mother-in-law, Efrat Katz, was hosting her granddaughters in her home in the kibbutz. She always loved to have them. I never thought that one of those visits can end like this. You're talking to a man who is not crying because I don't know if I got any more tears left. I'm exhausted, and I just want to approach whoever can hear me in the international community. Please bring back my baby girls. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yoni. I now ask Liam and Alana Zaidu. Many of their relations have also been cruelly abducted. Thank you for being here with us today.
My name is Alana Zaidu. I'm an American Israeli. My maternal grandparents were born in a small village in Yemen, and in
Reliable, could you put that on pause for a second?
had a chance to move to Israel.
This is live. that okay?
Okay, just put it on pause. I mean, whatever. But just Sorry, guys, we lost Robert. He had to run over to do another interview. So, just from a strategy perspective, do you know what happened with Eddie Cohen? Do we have an update? Because we lost our whole Israeli contingency.
I don't know where. If you could get a hold of Michael Stealth, that might be he'd be the one to get a hold of. Get him back in here. Sorry, I've got to get some coffee because I'm getting a little bit sleepy.
Yeah. So, you guys, I'm gonna open up a space at 11 a.m. We're gonna all move over to there. Chet's gonna take a little bit of a break, and we're gonna go back to military analysis. So let's listen to the UN portion for a second. Well, let me just get to a hand really quickly, and then we can re-listen to the UN portion in a second. Silence majority, go ahead.
You have to unmic.
Well, it seems like
Send it to me in the DMs. Silent majority. Just send it to me in the DMs, and I can bring it up.
I guess.
Quick comment from So just read this. A close friend and his family are waiting to be able to bury their murdered relatives. They are still waiting because the IDF found that Hamas had booby-trapped their corpses.
Yeah, we know this already yesterday. This has been reported.
Yeah. Jeez.
Okay. Should I continue?
Sure.
Children and their children had children, and together we've created a family more warm, loving, and generous than most could ever imagine. I spent every summer with my family in Israel, especially with my mom's eldest sister, Reki, her husband, Ramus, and their children, my cousins, Danielle, Moran, and Sharon. Our memories together go back to my youngest and most formative years, going to the water park, watching friends, going on vacation to Eilat, and even my bat mitzvah in their home. Danielle is like a big sister to me, a natural nurturer who gives the best hugs and always makes sure I'm well fed. Sharon is like my little sister. She brings me back down to earth with a sarcastic sense of humor that never fails to make me laugh. On Saturday, October 7th, Sharon and her husband David and their 3-year-old twins, Emma and Julie, along with Danielle and her 5-year-old daughter Emilia, were brutally kidnapped from Kibbutz Nir Oz. The kibbutz was ravaged by terrorists as they hid in their bomb shelter for hours until it filled with smoke and they could not hide any longer, at which point Sharon sent a voice note to my aunt. "We're not going to make it. We love you." A video began floating around on social media of hostages in a truck, Yoni's family, and we spotted them. I can see David crouched down holding one of their baby girls, and I see Sharon and her hair from the back as she holds onto what looks like Emilia so tightly. This horrific scene will not stop replaying in my mind, casting a dark shadow over the memory of the back of Sharon's head just over a month ago when she was here in New York, sitting in my kitchen while we laughed as I did her hair for my brother's wedding. I spoke with one of my other cousins in Israel, who is currently stationed as a reservist near Gaza. She said, "I cannot breathe thinking about our family. Every breath it follows me and I am shattered. This is exactly how our family feels and how the whole of the Israeli people are feeling today. But this agony that I am describing is nothing compared to the terror of which my cousins and their babies are experiencing at the hands of Hamas. I am here today to say that this is not a time for discourse, context, or debate. We must come together against what we know is evil and pick up the pieces of our shattered hearts one by one. As of this morning, we know that my family is alive in Gaza. I will say it in Hebrew, yesh tikva, which means there is hope. We can exhale, but only for a moment. I am pleading for your help to bring my family back. We don't want more bombs or rockets or blood or tears. We want our family back immediately, and we want peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alana. We know how difficult this must be for all of you. I'll now ask Rabbi Burton Vysotsky to tell us about the kidnapping of his cousin. Shalom, shalom, ve'ein shalom. The prophet Jeremiah tells us, we speak of peace, and we speak of peace again, yet there is no peace. I'm Rabbi Bert Visotsky. I'm a professor emeritus at the Jewish Theological Seminary, but I am here today because Hirsch Goldberg Poland is my cousin. That is to say, Hirsch's dad is John Poland, and John's mom, Hirsch's grandmother, Leah Poland, is my beloved first cousin. We're a big and loving family. We were all in Israel in May to celebrate another of Hirsch's cousins' bat mitzvah in Jerusalem, and then his aunt's wedding in Tel Aviv. It was a great celebration. We spent time laughing together, dancing together, and I got time to talk with young Hirsch then.
Someone's mic is open. Please close it.
So innocent and carefree. He's a very American kid, a U.S. citizen. He lived as a kid in Chicago, just like me, but I did it 50 years earlier. We considered sports, the White Sox versus the Cubs. I am a lifelong White Sox fan, and Hirsch, I cannot explain why, is a Cubs fan. But sports aside, Hirsch wants to go traveling around the world, like many Israeli kids his age do. And he's been saving up for the grand tour. We talked about the places he wants to visit. Some I have been to, and some, like Hirsch, are still on my list. This past Friday, Hirsch went to a dance party to kick back, celebrating the end of the Jewish holidays, Shabbat, and Hirsch's 23rd birthday, which had been a few days earlier. Instead, he was viciously attacked by Hamas terrorists. According to his mom, Rachel Goldberg, poor Hirsch had part of his arm blown off by the Hamas attack. He made his own tourniquet. And then he was taken hostage by the Hamas terrorists, put on a truck, and taken into captivity, most likely in Gaza. Hirsch is in dire need of medical care. Hirsch sent 2 texts to his mom on that Saturday morning. The first 3 words, I love you. The second 2 words, I'm sorry. That is the last that any of us have heard from Hirsch Goldberg Poland. We urge all civilized people to work to free Hirsch and all the other hostages as soon as possible. Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. We know how difficult this is for you, and we appreciate you sharing with us. We will now again show a brief video.
Okay, well, there's no one's speaking. It's just showing photos of the kidnapped 2 girls here, and the babies and the boys.
Okay. That's too bad. If you can share the link to that somewhere down in the purple pill, that way people can at least catch up on that if it goes back to something else as well. But thank you for that, Reliable, as well. Is there any other updates you see, Reliable, at this time coming up from
They're
the
singing
IDF?
Hatikva.
Say again. Oh, go.
I think. Can
We lost your mic, Reliable.
okay? Give me just 1 second here. Sorry. Go ahead, Reliable.
Thank you.
You just Okay, I'm gonna share the link if you want to watch it live on your own. I'll share it in the nest. I'm gonna copy it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Reliable,
Thank
do you
you.
know if any at this time? I know I'm probably going to be going to sleep here pretty soon myself, but and then so I can be up in time for Shabbat services later tonight. But what is the current status of Did Seeing Reliable outside of the happening at the UN right now?
So they were. What I see is they're speaking at the UN. They're still back to speakers now. I'm gonna share the link right now. Just a second. I'll put it in the chat first, so this way I can post it up here. Here we go.
Silly question, but do the latest posts in the chat go to the top or the bottom, the newest ones? Can you hear me?
Sorry. That is a great question, and I
In the
have
purple
no
pill,
idea.
they're randomized. They're different. Everybody will see something different. So, like whether you follow somebody or not, whether you interact with them, they serve that
Oh,
timeline
that's dumb.
differently to all of us.
That's dumb. Okay, fine.
I know. I wish it wasn't like that.
So, Chet, do you know that people can't reply unless their verified accounts are mentioned?
Yes, I had to do that because we were getting bot
Okay,
hit
that's
again.
problematic. So, how do
Yeah.
I put this into the bubble up top then?
This space is being
You're
botted.
not verified,
This space
Stealth.
is
I
being
forgot that you.
botted. We need to start a new space.
Well,
I'm
it's
tired of
starting
hearing.
right now. I'm just trying to post it here so
Okay.
people can transition over, but I can't post it in the bubble at the
The
Yes,
way
bottom.
people
that's why we have
transition over
verified.
is you hit leave on the top right, and then you go
We're
to
doing.
wherever. Hold on, you
Okay.
go to wherever Stealth goes.
Okay. At this point,
Okay, I'm putting it. I put it there.
Stealth, me and you're gonna have to have a conversation after
Yeah.
that because that was, you know what that
Okay.
was. You know what that
Okay.
was.
Let's. I
Can
just
you
posted
DM
it.
me what is going on?
I'll. Yeah. I'll DM you right now. Here's the link. If somebody can put it in the bottom bubble that's verified really quickly, and then we'll just do some housekeeping for a few minutes. We're gonna start.
Send it to me. I'll put it there.
Yeah. I sent it to you. You can change the title, or you guys can do whatever you want to change the title is for a second. Okay, so everybody.
Did you DM that Stealth in one of
I
the
did.
groups?
Can you see it or no?
Let me go check.
So just you guys will see my blue thing circle. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. Hopefully, if it is lighting up.
Yeah, I see the link.
Yeah,
I see
so
the
we're
link.
gonna go back
I
to
put it in the
military
nest as
analysis.
well. It's in the
Okay.
nest.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
And then the down
Fantastic.
bubble is where it needs to go. Okay. All right. So
Yeah. And just for you to know too, Stealth, if you do run into that same issue on your space, because I know you've been running into it too, if you start getting the mass damn bot comments in there, you can once it starts happening, you don't have to have it like always off. Like I had it on for quite a while to anyone could reply, but once we started to get those spam bots in there again, I just went in there and had to change who can reply, and I changed it to verified accounts. So that's at least a way to somewhat simmer down that when that happens, just so you know, for your.
It's also in the purple pill.
okay, got it. Okay. All right. I'm getting out now, guys. We're just gonna transition over. I'll see everybody there in 2 seconds. Okay, bye.
Okay.
All right, then I'm gonna go ahead and just pray, or rather, pray. I can't get words out of my mouth because I really do need to sleep. I'm gonna pray the prayer for Israel, the psalm.
Yes.
Here as we go out.
Ed, follow us to the next space, please.
Okay, I will.
Chet, you're muted.
Chet, can you hear
For
us?
some reason it didn't pull up for me. For some reason I'm trying to pull it back up again.
He's
So.
speaking, but I can't hear him. I only see that the captions are on, so that's how I know he's speaking.
Can anyone hear me right now?
I can.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you, Chet.
Okay, all right. Let me try this again. Let's see if it'll work here. It didn't want to try to work. Let's try this again there. I'll just play the prayer for peace again because I can't get the prayer for Israel. I wanted to play the prayer for Israel, but
Your
we'll go
phone
to
is being insubordinate.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ושמור צאתנו בואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים